Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush.
Yeah.
Here we go round the mulberry bush, all fall down.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes and just about to embark on a very, very exciting weekend here at Talk Sport and elsewhere, including up in Whitley Bay. It's time to say very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Hello, Bonnie lad.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
We've seen the... many people may have seen the Vera video,
yes.
or maybe not seen the Vera video, but if you haven't seen it, you should go to Two Mikes TV.
Indeed.
And have a quick look at Porky starring as Vera.
Oh, Bonnie lad. Have you stolen Porky's hot dog?
I wonder if there's going to be any questions related to Vera in the quiz.
Well,
I haven't seen the questions yet.
Who knows?
Obviously.
Now,
a couple of things to point out before we go any further.
Yes.
One very, very clever guy has sent out a tweet referring to us as the toe Mikes.
The toe?
As opposed to the two Mikes, because of our common problem with the left toe.
That's right. Well, we'll explain that in a minute.
We will. Also,
but it is a recognised medical situation.
Is it
Same
really?
shoe syndrome.
Yeah, well, we're going to try and get an expert on, but it might not be until next week. Now, the other thing that I need to point out to you, and several people have tweeted in, including Donald McCrory up in Scotland, who says,
he's a know-all, is he?
Solskjaer, please tell Porky Solskjaer was at Cardiff, not Swansea.
Well, of course he
was.
You
idiot.
Of course he was.
Well, you said he was at Swansea.
I didn't say he was at Swansea.
Yeah, you did.
Rubbish.
Yes, you did. I mean, the trouble is now, it would appear, and I'm sure this is not true,
yes.
but it looks as though you just you regard every team in Wales as the same.
No, not at all.
That's what it looks like.
No, I got this information earlier on that so-called Manchester United legend, well, not so-called, he is a legend, I'm sorry.
No, Ryan Giggs?
Yeah, Manchester United legend.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I apologise, I didn't mean to say so-called. What I was saying is, people who were talking...
Not mean to say so-called.
People who were talking about him in the media world were calling him the Manchester United legend, which of course he is.
Yes.
And we're being told that if Gwydolin, that rather odd sort of chap who...
What's odd about him?
Well, he's odd.
Why is he odd?
Well, he doesn't speak very good English.
Well, it doesn't make him odd.
He has
By the same token, he would say, well, you don't speak very good Spanish. It doesn't make you odd, does it?
I don't work in Spain. He works in England.
Yeah, so?
So he should learn proper English.
Well, he speaks English.
I'm really fluent English.
Well, he speaks pretty good English.
No, the point is, he doesn't think in English, and that is a problem. And
well, he's in Wales as well, so maybe he speaks thinking in Welsh.
No, he's not. No, that's a ludicrous and pathetic riposte. And you've got to understand as well that he has communication problems. He doesn't understand questions that are put to him, and he doesn't deliver answers which are satisfactory to the inquisitory nature of what people need to know.
What difference does that make?
Well, I think he's odd, and
I think you're being very unfair.
He just doesn't fit in. So anyway, when I was aware of this, I said to
who?
To the guys in the last show, to old Cundy and Mr. Goldstein. No, I said
Andy and Jason.
Andy and Jason, exactly who I'm talking about. Yeah. And I said. This won't work because it hasn't worked before. I said, look, they've already got a track record. I'm talking about Welsh clubs.
Yeah, but no, everyone assumed you were talking about Swansea, though.
Well, I'm sorry. I will clarify that. I knew exactly where Solskjaer had gone because, of course, he went to Cardiff with Mr. Tan.
Yes.
Right? And it simply didn't work out. And what I said was, one Manchester United player has already been to a club in Wales to try and establish himself as a full-time manager, and he's disappeared off the face of the earth.
Well, I don't think he's disappeared off the face of the earth.
Well, I think he has.
Well, he's gone back to Denmark, hasn't he? Wasn't he going back to Mould or something?
I think you'll find it's Norway.
Is it Norway?
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Well, you said he disappeared off the face of the earth.
Well, we don't read about him every day in the papers anymore.
Well, that's because he doesn't work in England,
exactly.
in your own words.
Exactly, and he doesn't work in England because he was given an opportunity to manage here a top British club.
He worked in Wales.
Well, it's a top British club. I just said Britain. Okay?
Yeah, but he didn't work in England.
Top British club. Yeah. And I'm afraid he blew it. But I mean, he's in the English leagues, wasn't he, you idiot?
He's a manager of Mould.
Yeah,
he went back to Mould.
I know that.
You said he disappeared off the face of the earth.
He has disappeared off the face of the earth to all intents and purposes to anybody who follows football in this country.
Yes.
And all I said was, once again, we've gone down that old route. Great player, therefore must be great manager. It never works. It very, very rarely works. It hardly ever works. Even Brian Robson, who had a bash at it for 10 years, eventually threw in the towel and became a non-manager. And he was one of the greatest Manchester United legends.
Great footballers can never be any good as managers?
They can sometimes if they hit it at the right moment.
Kevin Keegan was a pretty good manager, wasn't he?
Kevin Keegan was an all right manager.
Oh, I'd say he was better than all right.
Oh, really? What did he win?
Well, it's not a question of what he won.
No, what did he win?
No, why are you asking me that?
He didn't win anything.
Well, Everton haven't won anything for 21 years. Does that mean that, they're no good at anything?
Why are you going down all sorts of tangential lines of argument?
Because you're attempting
You talked about
to
Keegan. You said he's
saying.
a pretty good manager, and I will counter that by saying he was a pretty hopeless manager because he had a 12-point lead at the top of the Premier League going into March, and he managed to blow it and not win the Premier League. That's not a good manager.
Well, hang on, Newcastle were doing a lot better under Kevin Keegan than they are now.
When he was England manager, he walked out and resigned when he was in the loo, in the dressing rooms in the old Wembley.
Well, lots of people walk out.
That's not a good manager.
Lots of people walk out and resign.
That is not a good manager.
You walked out and resigned before this.
Yes, I have, yes.
Yeah, so what does that make you?
That makes me a man of principle.
Not a good... so you're a man of principle, but he's not a good manager.
No, he's not a good manager,
really?
No. If he was a good manager, somebody would still employ him as a manager. What he is a great communicator, great talker.
You can't just mould every single... I did that. You can't just mould every single argument to your own purposes.
How do you think that Ryan Giggs would work out as a manager?
Terribly badly at the moment because he's not a manager.
Yeah, he's had a go at Manchester United, four games.
He had four games, right? Which he didn't do particularly well at.
No.
He's not been trained as a manager.
I totally agree.
He doesn't understand management.
So it's a mad idea.
Well, of course it's a mad idea.
Yeah. So now we're getting down to the core of the argument. You're agreeing with me.
Of course I agree with you.
Why didn't you just agree with me from the first second I put this principle forward?
Because I didn't like the way you were structuring your argument. First of all, you were saying that the reason that they need a new manager at Swansea is because the current one is a bit odd.
Yes.
Which seems very harsh
Well,
indeed.
he is odd, isn't he, Mr.
Well,
Gwydolin?
I don't think he is
What's
odd.
His name, Gwydolin?
Gwydolin sounds like something out of the Knights of the Round Table.
It does, yeah. Gwydolin.
Gwydolin, or is that Guinevere?
Gwydolin, bring me my burning bowl and my chariot of fire. Boom. Yeah,
when did they have a chariot of fire in the King Arthur legends?
No, what's that great song?
Excalibur, you think?
Bring me my bow of burning gold.
That's Jerusalem.
Bring me my chariot of fire.
That's Jerusalem.
Yeah, well,
so nothing to do with King Arthur.
Well, no, it had everything to do with King Arthur.
Everything does not have something to do with King Arthur.
It was all about Jesus visiting this country and walking on pastures green.
Yes,
right, which he never did, by the way,
in Glastonbury. Well, you say that, but you haven't any proof that he didn't. You haven't any proof that he didn't.
And you say it was in Glastonbury.
Well, the Glastonbury thorn is in Glastonbury, and it flowers every Christmas.
Yes.
And nobody can explain it. There is no botanical or scientific explanation for why it happens.
That's right. And where was King Arthur's empire?
King Arthur's empire was in the West Country.
In Wessex?
Well, Wessex is a lot further down from Glastonbury.
No.
Glastonbury is in Somerset.
No, Glastonbury was included in Wessex. It was the capital of Wessex, believe me. I know these things.
Yeah, Wessex has moved over the course of time, depending on which period you're talking
Wessex
about.
in the days when it was Mercia and Wessex
Tintagel Castle
and Anglia.
Tintagel Castle is where they believe the Round Table actually existed.
Yeah,
that's
they can't
Cornwall.
find it, you see. That's
in Cornwall.
Eh?
That's in Cornwall.
Yes, I know that's in Cornwall because it's a cliff.
A long way from. It's a long way from. Yeah, I've been there.
It doesn't matter. You've got to remember there were several parliamentary locations attached to King Arthur. Okay?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, actually, parliamentary locations. Did you know they're having a massive election on the Isle of Man today, or yesterday?
To re-elect members of the Tyndall?
Yeah, exactly.
I know quite a lot about that.
Yeah, do you? Oh, good, because I wanted to ask you about it, because I'm not very familiar with the Isle of Man, and I used to go there on bladderation trips.
Okay.
Well, apparently...
65 members of the Tyndall.
I think 67 now, actually.
Is it 67?
Yeah, it's gone up. Thank you, anyway. So you don't know as much about it as you thought. But,
no, 65 permanent members, and the two you're talking about are for the additional districts which have been added on in the revised plan.
Still 67.
Anyway,
the point is, apparently, right, depending on what happens with the whole Brexit scenario, there is a move afoot, or there are some people there who would like to make the Isle of Man completely independent, like Scotland.
But the difference is the Isle of Man is a vastly wealthy place because a lot of international companies, for tax reasons, and a lot of very wealthy individuals base themselves there. Did you know that the Nazi swastika was in fact picked up from the symbol which represents the Tyndall, which is the Isle of Man
I thought
Parliament?
It was a three-legged thing, isn't it?
What?
It's a three-legged
Did you know?
It's nothing to do with swastika. It's a three-legged affair.
Do you know that...
no, the swastika comes from ancient Greek, actually.
No.
Yes,
it was influenced by the Isle of Man. Did you also know that in the Isle of Man, the cats are called Manx cats?
Yes, I did know that. They don't have any tails.
Don't have any tails.
Yeah. Well, did you also know that the reason why they're called Manx cats, you know why?
Yes.
What are they called that after? Go on, you're the expert.
What?
Why are they called Manx cats?
Because it's a breed of cat which is unique to the Isle of Man.
No.
Yes, it is.
No, incorrect.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that may be true.
Thank you.
However, that's not why they're called Manx cats.
So what do you think they're called Manx cats?
That's not why I think they're called Manx cats. It's because the language that is spoken, the local lingo, is called Manx.
No, I'm sorry, it's a dead language.
No, it's not anymore.
Nobody speaks it.
No, now they've got their own... no, I'm sorry.
No.
I'll tell you what, now that they've got their own parliament and have had for some time, they've done what the Welsh did, and they've made it compulsory for people to learn it.
No, it's rubbish.
That's not rubbish.
One or two itinerant loonies who live in a cave, believe it or not, somewhere on the edge of the Isle of Man. Yeah, speak a bit of Manx, but that's
Really?
it. That is it, honestly.
The reason I know all this is there's a great big piece in the New York Times written about it today, which I read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I knew about it without reading some load of rubbish written in the New York Times by some half-baked American academic.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is...
It's just unbelievable.
The other
Have you
thing
seen
is...
the Time, by the way?
What are the... In the world of great food, breakfasts...
Yes.
What are the most revered kippers in the world?
The most revered?
Yes.
I don't know, Lochfine kippers?
Manx. The Manx kippers.
Are they?
The Manx kippers.
I've never had one.
The Manx kippers.
No.
And by the way, when Europe came in and went shum and slashed all our fishing fleets, what did the Isle of Man say? Hands off, pal. That's why they've still got magnificent fishing fleets.
Well, where do you get these Manx kippers from?
Well, from a Manx
Most of the
kippery.
kippers I've ever eaten come from Scotland.
No.
They're better than anything that comes out of the Isle of Man.
Honestly, Manx... You know what? On the first day of, the kipper fishing season, they fly all these kippers over to the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool, and you have them for breakfast. Manx kippers on day one, because they fish at 3 and 4
Well,
o'clock.
I've never had them. I've only ever had Scottish ones. You can't get them in London.
You could if you wanted, if you asked for them
well,
and ordered them at the Dorchester.
Well, you've been to the Dorchester for breakfast recently, have you?
No, not recently, but you can get them there.
But if you go there, I bet you they give you Scottish kippers.
If you ask for Manx, they'd give you Manx. It'd be very expensive. But what happens is the fishing boat comes in at 5. They put them on a plane. They're in Liverpool by 6, and they're on the table in the breakfast room of the Adelphi Hotel, a magnificent institution, by 7.
You can buy a pair for £7.50.
What, Manx kippers?
Yeah.
I told you. That's pretty expensive.
No, online. That's not expensive at Kippers. You've gone mad.
That's pretty expensive, mate.
Yeah, well, that's why you think they're great, because they're expensive. It's such a plank.
Yeah, well, one reason, cost is equal to quality.
Can you just look at the time and imagine how much cost is going into not having to stop at this moment?
Manx.
Zoom Erunen. Lesson number 1. Erwin. Numbers. Erwin. Shaw Bluggen. This is a ball. Shaw Bluggen. Nairn. 1. Cheese. Nairn. Cheese. 3. 1, 2, 3. Nairn. Cheese. 3. Cheese. 3.
Is that Manx?
Yes.
Is this Manx?
Cheese.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, what are we laughing at? I mean,
Nairn.
Cheese.
3.
1, 2, 3.
Nairn.
Cheese.
3.
Nairn cheese 3. Nairn cheese 3. Nairn cheese 3. It's easy as Nairn cheese 3. I tell you, it's Nairn cheese 3.
Funny enough, the Jackson 5. Funny enough, the Jackson 5 never did a Manx version of that song, did they?
No, and they never appeared in the Isle of Man either.
Maybe they should have done. Now, an awful lot of people have got lots to say.
Yeah.
So, how about this? This is one from, where are we? From Glenn Arnold.
Yeah.
It says, boys, you both having sore big left toes. It's obvious you're having too much of a good thing, and it's probably gout that you have.
No, it's not.
I don't think it is gout.
We've explored that.
Because we know people have had gout.
Oh,
It's much more painful than this. This is not particularly painful.
No, it's what it is. It's a throb. And it makes walking a little bit more difficult. You're sort of a bit wary of lifting your foot off the ground.
Mine, I woke up this morning and it was a bit stiff, right?
Yeah.
But by the time I'd walked around for about 10, 15 minutes, it was all right.
But it's same shoe syndrome. If you have the same shoes on every day...
Well, I don't have the same shoes as you, though.
No, I know you don't. But the reason I've got it is because... I think I have about 5 or 6 different pairs of shoes every week. I don't mean I have a new pair of 5 or 6 pairs of shoes every week. I mean I have 5 or 6
the
pairs of shoes. Well, they might do because they're built to protect my feet.
Yeah, but you buy them in bulk though.
No, I don't buy them in bulk, but if I'm passing a shoe shop and I see a pair which I think look great, but I don't need a new pair, I buy them. So I've got about 4 pairs in reserve in boxes.
Really?
Which I will wear when I always
get them all at Sports Direct?
No, I don't. I've never bought shoes at Sports Direct. I buy them at various places. I do buy them at the Nike shop. I do buy them at the Adidas shop because these are the sort of shoes I wear which protect my feet.
What kind have you got on today? What, the Nike or Adidas?
I think it's Puma. Oh, no, they're Nike. Nike, yeah.
So you got some Puma as well?
I've got Pumas as well, yeah. Right. But these are quality shoes.
Mine are Ted Baker's, by the way.
And they're very comfortable. Yeah, they're like sand boots, aren't they?
Well,
desert boots.
They're not really desert boots. They've got leather soles, but they're very nice. Ted Baker's.
Yeah, okay, not bad.
Blue lace. By the way, is that cup of tea you've got there? Where'd you get that from?
Cup of tea? It was given to me by the producer.
Oh, where's mine?
Well, he didn't make you one.
Well, did
He
you
realises
ask him
where
for
the
one?
balance of power lies in this studio.
Well, did you not ask him for one for both of us?
No, I didn't, no.
Why not?
Well, because you
I've got some
tend to...
chocolate here. I need some tea to eat the chocolate with.
You can't eat chocolate during the middle of a show.
No, but I can.
Do you know what that'll do to your masticatory ability?
I know exactly what it will do.
And it'll start your saliva glands overworking.
Yeah.
And you'll start to sound like you've got a mouthful of drink.
Not true. No, incorrect. You're suggesting
which
that
isn't that far away from
I
the
will
truth.
generate far more saliva than I need. How about this
Yes.
from Becky? A couple of things from Becky, actually. First of all, it's obvious Porky cannot be classed as a football Einstein, because Jose Mourinho, of course, has been having a go, saying there's a lot of Einsteins out there in
that's right,
football. And he says they all seem to think that my 11 years as a brilliant manager have now been wiped out by the start of this season with Manchester United. I think he's got a point. But she also says...
Well, no, but the critics have got a point as well. Having failed so dismally at his second time round at Chelsea and having had a shaky start at United, I have to say, Jose, that is what people are asking. Have your Einstein-like abilities in as football management suddenly evaporated?
And I think if Leicester beat them this weekend, which is entirely possible, by the way, which I may indeed predict as we do predictions later on in the show, he's going to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And Manchester United's board will again not know what to do.
Totally
but
agree.
How about this from Becky? She says, is the unique Manx cat on the eradication of cats plan Porky has in place? It's surprising in a way they still have any birds on the Isle of Man.
Well, Manx cats are actually known for being gentle creatures, to be honest, and not
Why is
aggressive. I don't know, but they
Because
are.
they don't have tails.
Well, maybe it could be something to do with that.
Yeah.
There's one chap here talking about Einsteins called Lee, right?
Yeah.
Who must think I'm a half-bake. He says, Porky, do you realise that a kipper isn't a fish? You can't just go and take your fishing boat out and catch a load of kippers. What you catch is herring, and then you smoke the herring and it becomes a kipper.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Lee,
Well,
I
knew that,
had
right?
worked that out. I had worked that out, mate. You know what I mean? I know that, you don't put your fishing net in the sea and pull it out and there's a load of brown kippers in it, for goodness sake, you oaf.
When was the last time you had a kipper?
Day before yesterday.
Really?
On some beautifully fluffy white bread baked in a bakery.
Hey?
I had a kipper sandwich.
A kipper sandwich?
Yes.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not. I love it.
You had a kipper sandwich?
Yes. What are you looking at me aghast like that for? Everybody has kipper sandwiches.
No, nobody's having a kipper sandwich.
Of course they do. They love
eat
them.
kippers with poached eggs.
No, I don't eat eggs, do I? So I can't eat it with the poached egg.
What else do you put on the sandwich?
Nothing except
Nothing?
a smearing.
Is it a bit dry?
No, well, I was going to say, no, it's not, because they're very juicy, the kippers, but just a smearing of, fat from the pan.
What?
You know, smearing of fat from the pan when you've done your sausages?
So you put sausage fat on it?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Well, did you have sausages as well?
No. No, I didn't have
Where'd
sausages.
you get sausage fat from?
Well, what I do is, and this is an old trick my mother taught me, is when you cook and there's a load of fat left in the pan, you put it into a little container and you put it back in your fridge.
Yeah, that's because your mother grew up during the war.
Yes, that's
and
right.
there wasn't much around.
That's right,
You don't have to do that now.
Well, I like doing it because
considering
you
the amount
retain
of
the
money,
flavour.
considering the amount of money you waste, right?
Yeah.
On ridiculous
What do you
things, you're sitting in there scraping lard out of a frying pan.
No,
because you think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I do. But it's not because I'm parsimonious. It's because it retains the flavour and the nature of the sausage that you've eaten the day before.
So you eat a kipper sandwich with sausage fat?
Yes, why not?
Ugh.
Well, it's only a bit of...
That sounds horrendous.
No,
Where'd you
no.
get the kippers from?
I got them from Morrison's.
Morrison's?
Yes.
Were they Manx kippers?
Probably.
Probably. No, probably not, I would suggest.
No,
I've
they
never
probably
seen
were.
Manx kippers on sale in a shop in this country.
Oh, well, I have, all over the place.
Not in this part of the world, anyway.
Yeah, I have, honestly.
All right.
You can ask for them.
Uh-huh.
Hedy
says this, the swastika is from ancient India, nothing to do with the Isle of Man.
Yeah, I know, but...
Glastonbury was never a capital till the 10th century. It was a marsh.
Well, there you go. But it was in the 10th century.
Well, when was King Arthur around?
Around about the same time.
You sure?
Yes, 900 and whatever. Yeah, I'm certain.
Okay.
I'm certain.
Kenny says this, it's Tynewald. I lived in the Isle of Man, a mile from Norman Wisdom. Lovely old gent.
Yeah, he was. And what used to happen was, the tourist buses would go on a tour of the Isle of Man. They go to all the sort of places, there's like a big mountain and all this kind of stuff, And they'd take you around a bit of the route of the TT racing and all that.
Yeah.
And they go past Norman Wisdom's house.
Yeah.
And do you know what he used to do? They used to ring in advance to tell him the bus would be round at 2:20. And he used to actually come out on his patio And he used to pretend that he hadn't seen the bus, but then go falling over furniture and then getting up and then falling over his sunbed. Yeah, literally.
Funny.
And he said, he was a lifelong entertainer and he was very happy to give the old tourists their money's worth as they drove past his house. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Andy
he's
says
a good
this.
guy.
He's off already. The capital of Wessex was not Glastonbury, it was Winchester, and you can't beat our Broth Smokies. I think he's right about that.
Winchester Cathedral, you're breaking my heart.
What?
That was a
Where's that
song.
from?
It was Dave D. Dozy, Beaky, Mick and
Oh,
Titch.
yeah, I remember them, yeah. Winchester Cathedral?
Yes.
Really? I tried to get in there once, and they wanted £12.50 each. So I said,
joking?
Yeah, no, they charged to get in.
Where was this?
At Winchester Cathedral.
When?
Oh, just a few years ago, about 3 years ago.
God, with your kids?
Yeah, we went, it was a half term once, and we went and
So it
stayed
would have been like
somewhere.
50 quid?
Yeah.
Good God,
And I
that's
said,
terrible.
I'm not paying that kind of money to get into a cathedral. You must be joking.
Well, you see, I on my occasional visit to Chester, I go to Chester Cathedral.
Did you go last time?
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't go in, but I went. but I walked past it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and
still there?
And the point is,
It's still got those gargoyles. At the,
Oh yeah. No, it's a beautiful architectural building.
Yeah.
But the point is, because I am a friend of Chester Cathedral.
Oh yeah.
Because I give them money.
Can't you just go in for nothing then?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I told you in the old days I was always a big shot, and because I worked on the Chester Chronicle, I used to walk to the front of the queue at the King's Disco, and just walk straight in. Very impressive, you know what I mean?
Well, not really.
Yeah, it was very.
Well, I'm not impressed by it.
If you had a young lady on your arm, it's very impressive.
Well, it's
believe
very
me.
likely you catch me hanging around any discos in Chester.
And people were shouting, "Hey mate, there's a queue" and all that. And I said, "Yeah, don't worry, mate." And as I got to the front, the bouncer saw it was me, important person. Oh yes, Mr.
You
Parry.
love all that.
Yeah.
Tin pot dictator's behaviour.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Mr. Parry.
You make a great dictator. Actually.
And there was a main door where the great unwashed went through, but next to
What,
it
you mean
was,
everybody else?
Yes, that's right. Next to it was the staff private door, and they used to open that, and Mr. Parry through in here to
It's
bring
like
your
a
young
scene
lady.
from Goodfellas, isn't it?
Yeah, bring your young lady with you. And then as I got in, the main boss was always in. So I said, "Mike, great to see you." And then he'd say to one of his underlings, "Take Mr. Parry and his young lady upstairs for some food and drink." "Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was great." So the same thing happens. Because I'm
in Chester Cathedral.
Yes, because I'm a friend of Chester
they take
Cathedral.
You upstairs for some food and drink.
No. But I don't have to queue up to pay to get in.
Right.
I just flash my card.
You can
friend
jump
of
the
Chester
queue and
Cathedral.
get the confessional as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
Now, what about this from Liam? He sent a lovely picture of his wife surrounded by their 3 psychopathic, crazed cats. Right?
Oh, right, okay.
Homicidal killers. Look at that. Isn't that a nice picture? A nice domestic picture.
Well, if you like cats, I suppose it is. But I mean, if we move on from the discussion we had last night, okay?
Yeah.
And this came from an American professor who said all feral cats should be shot immediately, right?
Yeah.
And that for the rest of it, cats should be kept on a lead.
Yeah, we've done all that, though. haven't we?
Yeah. But hang on. So you're saying to me this is one mad, nutty American professor. What happens? I open my, newspapers this morning, as I always do, and what do I see? The Times, one of the most famous newspapers in the world. Apocalypse Meow.
Yes.
Lock up your cats.
Yeah.
Right?
I suppose they've all picked it up from you, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I think they have, and they're called Domesticated Merchants of Death. But then I go further into my journals, and I find, very, very well-read people advising that, yes, any stray cat should be rounded up and shot.
I think you'll find if you read the articles all the way to the end, that you will see that there are many, many more people saying this is nonsense, this American guy's off his rocker.
No.
And in fact, the cats in this country do not do any harm at all to anything
Not
other
true.
than
Not
what
true.
you would expect them to do
Not
harm
true.
to. But anyway, we talked about all that yesterday.
Yes.
We don't want to big yourself up.
No, I'm not picking
time.
myself up. I'm just telling you why we should kill every stray cat in Britain. Okay, that is the deeply controversial conclusion in a new book written by an expert.
Yeah, we did all this yesterday.
Well, I don't care. I'm telling you, it's been done again today.
Right.
Well,
Done again today.
No, we're not doing it again today, but you will at some stage realise that you cannot dismiss my research and conclusions from scientific journals as blithely as you do.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. According to Joshua, he says, so Porky claims to be great with fashion, yet he's got unopened boxes of shoes from the year 2000 he's still waiting to wear. Well, I think that says it all. This is Talk Sport. Ooh, Winchester Cathedral, you're bringing me down. You stood and you watched as This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Got lots of reaction on the Kippers. Lee, who sent you the earlier note
it's
saying...
It's a great song, that, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounded like Dean Martin, didn't it?
Yeah,
was
in Chester Cathedral, you see.
Frank Sinatra, maybe. Don't call me an oaf, he says. You clearly stated they were caught on the evening and then would be fresh on the plate in the morning.
Yes.
So his point is correct and you're incorrect.
No, they smoked them on the boat. They smoked them on the boat as the boat's returning to port. Of course they do.
No, they don't.
Of course they do. That is all part of the Kipper industry.
To a smokery. Kenny B says, as usual, MPs talking Biloxios. Kippers are smoked herring, which takes time out of the ocean and onto the breakfast table on the same day. No.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but I say yes.
Really?
And I'm telling you, somebody from the Kipper industry and the Island Man will come on and support me on that one.
Bungle says this, eating kipper and lard sarnies can't be doing Porky's dodgy ticker much good.
Well, kippers actually are a very nutritious food.
Well, they are, but not if they're smothered in lard from sausages.
No, they're not in lard. They're not in lard. They're literally a small film of very nutritious... fat. Yeah.
Porky's quite mad, says Glenn Arnold. Kippers tasting his sausages is disgusting. No wonder he's got a dodgy toe and an awful singing voice.
Listen, hang on. I'm not even sure it was the sausage fat that I used. It could have been one of the others. I've got a couple of fats. Could have been bacon.
Do you label them?
No, but I know which ones they are. You know, I know by looking at them. I know by
Maxwell Silverhammer
by sight of eye.
Chester Cathedral is actually free to enter, Porky.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, I think on certain occasions they have to charge for things that are going on there, you know, like the concerts and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Hey, by the way,
yes,
we were talking about jury service the other night. I've got a tip here from Anthony, which is great.
Yes.
He says, when I was on jury duty, a valid excuse was to have a holiday booked, so book a fully refundable flight and then cancel it.
Well, I've tried that. And I got a deferral. What
do you mean you've tried it?
Well, you know, when I came out to see you in Mallorca,
that
was the first time they wanted me to do jury
duty.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, so I actually...
Is that why you decided to come then?
Not
that's
why,
the truth.
But... No,
so that's the truth?
No. I said to them, look, I have got flights booked to go to Mallorca, so I got the deferral. But, however, I have found out since that as the main body of my work is working self-employed as a freelance...
The main body of your work?
Yes.
Well, all of it, actually.
Yeah, all of it, yeah. As a freelance broadcaster, and up to 12 people,
surely
are dependent on me actually working each day, getting them working. They can't work if I don't. Yeah.
What do you put down on a form if you ever have to fill out a form in terms of what your occupation is?
I say broadcaster.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's my main occupation.
Is that what you put on your insurance form?
No. On my car insurance form, I am a company director.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm a company director.
Well, of course you are.
Of a lot of companies.
Indeed. How many?
Well, I don't know, but they're all mine, so it doesn't matter.
They're not, actually. One of them's ours.
Oh, yeah, well, exactly, yeah, that's sure, but some of them are mine. Or most of them are mine, put it that way. Now, listen, I don't want to keep going on about cats all night.
Yeah, please don't keep going on about cats.
No, but this is amazing. There must be something going on. It says here, Noel Edmonds has got a new business, a new job. He's a cat whisperer.
What?
He's a cat whisperer.
Really?
Yeah, it says the game show host...
Well, you have to remember that when you tell people you're his brother, right?
Exactly, is launching a free phone service where he speaks down the line to depressed pets.
Right.
Now, you know...
What happened to the magic box thing that he was doing?
I've no idea.
Has that gone out the window?
I've no idea. But anyway, this is amazing. I was asked... Oh, that's a cat. Yeah, it's not in the studio, by the way. It's a sound effect. We would not have cats in the studio. They urinate on carpets, for one thing.
That could be the sound of you killing one.
Yeah, well, it will be if it comes in this studio, mate. It's going out the window in TalkSport Towers, fast. Yeah. They say that if you throw a cat out of a window, it turns around in midair and lands on its paws.
It does, yeah.
So that would be a test.
Yeah.
Bit high, though. But I wouldn't do that. That's cruel.
Yeah,
but
cruel.
Anyway, listen.
You just want to have them all wiped out.
What I was going to say to you was, earlier this week, I was asked to go and talk to Jeremy Vine on his show on Radio 2. Jeremy's a friend of mine.
Is he?
And I occasionally...
You asked him about his sort of interception by the person with the bike.
No, I haven't yet, no. But anyway, the point of my story is, everybody's happy for me to do it. It doesn't conflict with the work I do here. And I had to turn it down because I was actually coming here to do a show.
Oh, you had to turn it down because you had to come in here to work with Max Rushton.
Exactly, that's right. Was
that on Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday.
I think it was Tuesday. On the very same day. On the very same day, Noel Edmonds appears on his show and starts demonstrating cat whispering. Noel Edmonds demonstrated on Jeremy Vine's Radio 2 programme yesterday with a motivational talk to rescue Cat Dana, who was brought into the studio.
Cat Dana?
Yeah.
Who's Cat Dana?
Well, the cat's name is Dana, D-A-N-A.
The Cat Dana.
Yeah, so
Irish.
He's obviously calling in from his West Country home because he's got this huge mansion, hasn't he, worth about 10 million quid.
Well, I told you about my friend who went to put a kitchen for him.
Oh, is that right? Yeah,
the tall guy, and he said he didn't want him to ever come back.
Oh, that's right, because he was too big, yeah. And he says, and he's talking to him, and he says, Dana, you like fish, don't you? Have a happy life. And in the background, he played the sound of a cat purring.
Where was this cat?
The cat was in Jeremy Vine's studio.
Oh, so they allow cats in their studio?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Not like here, then.
No, we wouldn't have them in here. But anyway, isn't that funny? The world suddenly got obsessed by cats. And
well, that's enough of you kind of bigging yourself up. This is the only reason you keep talking about it.
No, I didn't. I was pointing out that was another cat story of immense interest because it involves one of the most popular TV and radio entertainers of the last 30 years, Noel Edmonds.
Well, not anymore, he's not.
Well, he was.
Yeah, but he's a has-been now.
Oh, that's a bit hard.
He is a has-been. Why do you think he keeps coming up with those ridiculous madcap schemes?
Because he's still...
I mean, pretty soon he'll be telling people he's your brother. It'll be the other way round.
That's true, that could happen.
Do you know I'm Porky Parry's secret brother?
Absolutely. But no, he's a very industrious man. And
by the way... doesn't mean successful, though.
Excuse me, am I right in saying that during the course of our very busy week, and you and I have been doing a few things together and a few things separately, in one of your separate liaisons, did you not meet a chap who pitches ideas to TV programmes and things like that? Well, that's what people do. That's what people do, and sometimes they come off, and sometimes they don't.
What's that got to do with Noel Edmonds?
Because that's what he does. When it was his
idea, he won't ever be back on television.
His idea for Deal or No Deal was his unique idea.
After that business with the magic box, he will not be back.
Well, I tend to think that you may be right there.
Unfortunately, he may have blotted his copybook there.
But nevertheless, he next wants to be a cat whisperer.
Hey, what about talking of blotting your copybook and television and all that sort of thing? What do you make of the Mary Berry scenario? Because it now appears that Channel 4 have now paid, as many people have said already, so it's not very original for me to say this, that they paid £75 million for a tent, basically.
Is the tent all about the fact that they broadcast from a tent? I didn't know that. I've never seen it.
Well, I think, in the brief moments
it like
that I've seen it...
type thing?
Well, I think what they do is they have people sort of outside presenting their cakes. And
I see.
It's almost like it's a sort of a summer fete type thing.
Like a garden party?
Sort of, yeah. I think that's what they're trying to recreate.
Right.
And so when they unveil some of the stuff that they've made,
I
mean, there's a scene in a kitchen, I presume, when they're making it.
Yeah.
But then they sort of, they have, I think the denouement of the show is they're all outside, and Mary Berry and this guy Hollywood are sort of judging it.
Well, hang on, let's try and work this out. £75 million has been paid to acquire the company that makes the Great British Bake Off.
No,
that is right. Love Productions.
Well,
Love Productions.
But they haven't acquired the company. Channel 4 haven't bought the company. They've only bought the show.
So they bought the show off the company.
Yeah.
Well, the company now can't deliver because 3 members of the 4-person team have pulled out.
Well, no, what they've effectively bought is the name of the show. Right?
Yeah.
They bought Paul Hollywood, the guy who's going to be standing in as in the job that he was doing before.
Yes.
And then they may or may not change the format of it. They're going to have to put advertising
But are you saying that when they tied the deal up for £75 million, they did not ensure that the contractual obligations of the 4 people who make up the show came with the £75 million purchase?
Maybe they didn't want them. I don't know. I mean, I can understand them not wanting Mel and Sue, but I can't understand them not wanting Mary Berry, because she's the whole point of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so is she now free to go and start another show back with the BBC? Because she said, I'm not leaving because I have loyalty to the BBC.
Well, she and Mel and Sue could all do a new show.
That's what I'm saying.
Which had something to do with baking and call it something else.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. I'm researching on my information machine.
Berry's Bake Off.
Right,
I mean, they could call it anything.
Hang on my information machine it says Paul and Mary to go their separate ways. He gets £1.5 million deal. That's Paul Hollywood, is it? Yeah. Who's 50.
Yeah.
He gets £1.5 million Channel 4 deal. She stays with the BBC she loves. And Alison Boshoff, which I'm looking at here, this will be in the Daily Mail.
Alison,
Yeah, I know her. I call her Bish Bosh. She's a good friend of mine.
Is she?
And,
when did you see her last?
And she's a great showbiz reporter.
When did you see her last?
It's a rugby match about a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago?
Yes,
really?
Yes.
Okay.
We were both in hospitality.
I'm friends with her on Facebook, I'll ask her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good, yeah. Anyway, she's concluding Channel 4 are now making noises about how it's wrong for a public service broadcast to keep a much of a show. Meanwhile,
what?
She goes into the... I don't know. I'll have to read this at length.
All right, we'll read it at length in a minute.
Indeed.
How about this from Glenn Arnold, who says, we get a lot of tweets from him today. Make sure Porky doesn't say anything bad about Whitley Bay, as he has with Wales, Southampton and Luton.
No, Whitley Bay's a great place.
Yeah.
And by the way, can I just say to everybody out there...
There's no time to say anything now.
Just very quickly.
Go on.
This is very quickly. On 5:30 on Saturday evening, Aston Villa are playing Newcastle United at Villa Park. It's live on the telly.
Yeah.
And the reason it hasn't been brought to our attention so far is because I'd forgotten that both those great clubs are now in the Championship.
Yes.
So they're not huge in my firmament.
You've forgotten that.
However, there are 4 pubs in the Whitley Bay area who will be showing that on telly.
Yeah.
I advise you all to go to the pubs, watch the game, take modest bladderation, and then move on to the Playhouse in Whitley Bay and come and see the 2 mics on stage. Yeah. That is a great idea.
There won't be any modest bladderation going on
there.
No.
Bladderation in moderation.
Also, of course, at
only
the very
applies
same
to
time,
others.
At the very same time as that game is Chelsea-Arsenal live on Talk Sport. so you could listen to that as well.
Well, you could. You could have your earphones on listening to that. You could be watching the Villa-Newcastle game. Yeah. Mind you, if you're in Newcastle...
Would you mind stopping talking for a minute?
They're more likely to watch Newcastle.
Thank you very much. This is Talk Sport.
Yeah, man, like, you know.
I was born in New York City on a Monday. It seems I was out trying to shoot by 2 to noon. All the bad cats and the bad hats.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. It's a Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on, and it is about the northeast of England, of course, because we're off to Whitley Bay tomorrow on the old Rattler, so we'll see a bunch of you up there. How about this, though, from David, who says, Porky doesn't know what fat it was he was cooking. The fat collector, a lard full of luxury lard. The BBC can call it the Great British Lard-Off.
Well, yeah, I suppose
you could, really. Show.
I suppose you could.
That'd be quite good. Yeah. Now, also, Lord Rallo's pointed out that Dave D, Daisy, Beaky, Mickentich did not sing Winchester Cathedral.
Oh, yeah?
It was the new Vaudeville band.
Well, there you go. It's the same era, same sort of thing.
Really?
Same sound.
Okay, all right. Well, now, let's talk to Mark Donaldson, because Mark Donaldson is in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Do you know what's going on in Foxborough, Massachusetts?
Foxborough, Massachusetts. Yeah. Is that where the next great golf competition is going to be taking place?
No, it's where the New England Patriots play football.
New England Patriots. Who cares?
Well, Mark does, because he's there covering it.
Oh, I know that. That's why he's out there. He works on it. But, well, I mean, you know, there's a difference between being there and covering it in a country which adores the sport and trying to project it across the Atlantic to an indifferent Great Britain.
Yeah, well, he may have something else to say. Mark, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you both?
Very well indeed. Very well indeed. How is Gillette Stadium tonight?
It's not as busy as I thought it would be, because getting to this part of the world, Foxborough, you've got one road in, one road out. It's not the easiest. So we're about, 10, 15 minutes into the game, and there's still lots of people coming in.
Right, okay. Now, we'll get back to the games. It's only just got underway, and there's no score as far as I can tell yet. But let's talk about the football coming up this weekend, because a couple of massive games. What is going on at Manchester United is the question on everybody's lips.
2 or 3 wins back-to-back, and everything's forgotten about. But if they struggle this weekend... And I was at Anfield for Leicester against Liverpool, and Leicester were awful. Defensively, they were shambles, and I think the arrival of Slimani will make them change the way that they play, because I don't think the way they played last year is going to be good enough this year for the top 10 finish. I think they've got good players, of course they have, but they're getting more respect now from other teams. Maybe they didn't get that respect last year. Maybe that was one of the reasons why they were able, in addition to the ability that they had, to win the league. So I think they might have to change things. And Slimani's a good player. Musa's a good player as well. Will it work the way that they have been playing so far this season? For the rest of the season, I don't think it will. So I'm interested to see the tactics deployed by Ranieri at Old Trafford this weekend.
Yeah. Well, but more interestingly as well, though, we're all interested to see what Jose Mourinho does this weekend, and whether he starts Marcus Rashford in a Premier League game, which up to now he hasn't done. Whether he reacts to a lot of the criticism that Wayne Rooney and many of the other players have been put under, much of it by him actually, and exactly what is going to. You say that a couple of good results will change everything, but you don't really see those coming at the moment.
No, I mean they've got a couple of home games coming up, and then they've got a tough stretch as well. I'm not sure what the latest is with Mkhitaryan's injury, because for me, I said it last week, you've got to play him in behind Ibrahimovic. If you do, then for me, they both flourish. That doesn't leave a place for Rooney for me. Now, because he played in midweek at Northampton, do we look into that at all? The fact he brought on Zlatan, I think that was needs must. But for me, if Mkhitaryan plays in that withdrawn role behind the striker, where he got 26 goals and 23 assists last season, then I think you'll see a better Manchester United. But if Rooney keeps playing there, you're going to end up with the same issues you had with Juan Mata, playing in the wrong position and not getting the best out of a player.
Yeah, now, Mark, what I don't want to see this season is a return to the days when maybe one club, and I'm thinking of Manchester United in seasons when they sometimes won the league by as much as 15 points. I don't want one club running away with the Premier League from the opening month of the season, but unless the others get their asses into gear, seeing as you're in America, asses, I said, into gear.
Show this.
Yeah, unless they get their acts together, Manchester City are going to start running away with this Premier League title, and by Christmas it'll all be over.
I get that. The fact that you think they might run away with it by Christmas, that ain't going to happen. I just want to see teams have a go at the Man City defence.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% convinced that Claudio Bravo. I wasn't convinced by Joe Hart. Vincent Kompany's never got 38 games in him for a season, so they are going to chop and change. They play Kolarov at centre-back. But they don't really need to defend when they've got so much of the ball going forward. They're going to score every single week with the talent they have available. But if you're a team in against Manchester City, now, they've got a couple of tough games coming up as well. Swansea, they should win it at the weekend. Then they've got a tough one coming up as well. I'd like to see teams put more pressure on the City defence.
Well, Everton, sorry to interrupt, Mark. Everton are their next big challenge. That's 2 weeks' time, right? Now, I sincerely believe that after Leicester broke the mould last season, I believe this season that Tottenham, Everton, I was going to include West Ham in that number, and certainly Liverpool, have a responsibility to widen the possibility of clubs outside the so-called top four winning that Premier League title again this season and next season and the season after that.
The argument could be as well, Porky, with regards to Champions League action, how big an issue is that for a title-chasing team to compete on both fronts? Because Leicester didn't have that last season. They were able to have the entire season without any issues. So I think what you've seen from Pep Guardiola, for me, he's not just about tactics, and I saw a lot of him at Barcelona, even more at Bayern Munich. He gets the best out of players. And we've seen so far, Raheem Sterling was a dud in the summer in France. I mean, he just didn't work. So he's got his confidence back as well. He never doubted the player's ability. It was just that price tag. But he's got him back playing, and he's an integral part of that team. I'm just not convinced defensively. You've got Kolarov sometimes playing as a centre-back. Not for me. He's a good player, but defensively that's an issue.
But certainly, I mean, the one thing we have learned, I suppose, over the years in the Premier League is that nobody really does run away with it very often. Normally they have a bad
Ferguson
patch.
Under the Ferguson era.
Well, I'm talking about since then, right? The last few years.
Funny enough, Jose also had Chelsea running away with it on a couple of seasons.
No, I don't know about that, but I mean, generally, there's one of them falls down, and Manchester City may well do. Let's talk about the other big game, which is live on Talk Sport, Mark, and that's Arsenal-Chelsea.
Indeed.
5:30 kickoff. This is a big game for Conte, isn't it?
It's a big game for Conte, and I not only do I download your podcast religiously to and from work, but I also download the podcasts of Foxley and Jacobs, and I was listening to Andy talk about the substitutions or lack of that's made by Antonio Conte as well. So that certainly seems to be a gripe for a lot of the Chelsea fans. It's kind of, I think he left Batshuayi on the bench when they needed goals against Liverpool as well. Again, we live in a culture whereby one bad result and the panic button is pushed. There's no patience in football these days. And I'm not saying give it 3, 4, 5 games, because 2 defeats, as you've spoken about Manchester United, and it's an issue. For me, I mean, I play fantasy football like so many of your listeners. I've got rid of Eden Hazard. I just think he started the season well, but I think there's better value elsewhere. He needs to step up and be counted. He started the season well, and maybe he's just tailed off a bit as well. Diego Costa's already on 3 yellow cards, I think, which is an issue. 5 yellows and you're suspended. So I love the way that Costa plays, but if he is suspended, can Batshuayi come in and do the same job that Costa has done so far this season? That's a big question.
And if Arsenal get 3 points, you know, there's a bit of a lead, and if they remain in the top 4, then suddenly Chelsea are out of that for the moment. I know it's very early days and all that, but it's fascinating. It's going to be another fascinating weekend. Let me just ask you about the Ryder Cup, Mark, because that's coming up very, very shortly. It's only a week away. A couple of stories on the back pages here this morning saying that Lee Westwood's dig at Tiger Woods being sort of negative for the US team might come back to haunt him.
You go to every Ryder Cup over the last, 10 years or so, the week before, there's always stories like this. It's someone having a go at someone else, not because they've volunteered it. It's because the media are needing a story to try and not sell it so much, but to try and publicise the fact that the Ryder Cup's coming up. Now, it's a bigger story on your side of the pond than it is over here. We've got the Tour Championships, which got underway today, obviously, the FedEx Cup and the $10 million and everything like that as well. Hasn't really made headlines over here. Lee Westwood having a go at Tiger Woods, big deal over here. Maybe it's made more of a headline back in the UK. But the Ryder Cup publicity won't start in earnest until probably Monday, Tuesday here, and no one here right now is really talking about that. It's all about the Tour Championship.
Well, the Americans don't talk a lot about things that they don't win very much either.
No, exactly.
There is that. But I mean, is Tiger Woods going to be sort of front and centre? Is he going to take a back seat? I mean, how's it all going to work?
I don't know. If I'm being open and honest, I could sit here and give you 30 seconds of blurb like I normally do and don't really say much. A bit self-deprecation there. However, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's a different role. Tiger Woods, like him or not, is very respectful as a person. He will not want to get in the way of Davis Love, someone he's got complete respect for. He'll do what he's asked to do. He'll speak when he's spoken to. he will not be making the headlines. That's the prediction that I'll make ahead of next week. As far as how much he's going to be involved, and look, if you've got the opportunity to have Tiger Woods in your team, as far as backroom staff is concerned, I think you'd be a fool not to have him involved. So I think it's a good appointment from David Love.
Sure.
I'm just interested to see what he's going to be doing.
Indeed.
Now, Porky's been very keen to ask you about the football match that we're watching here, which is still with no score on,
Sorry,
on
which
the
one is it?
On the clock. It's Houston, the Houston Texans visiting
Okay,
the New England Patriots, right?
Yeah, great, yeah.
Why don't you ask Mark a question?
Yeah, okay. What colour are the helmets?
Silver for the Pats and dark blue for the Texans. By the way, Porky, not this weekend, next weekend.
Yeah.
NFL back in London. I'm sure you'll be paying a little bit more attention when it's there, when you've got 90,000.
Well, actually,
to watch that one.
I've got a place down on the south coast, so I might be visiting that at the same time. Sorry about that, Mark, but, any time you're over, come and visit.
Okay.
I will do, Porky.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mark,
problem.
thanks very much indeed. Have a great weekend. Mark Donaldson there from ESPN, keeping us abreast of the Ryder Cup, a bit of football as well, which is going on at Foxborough, Massachusetts, and, of course, the Premier League, which gets underway tomorrow with that early kick-off, Leicester at Manchester United. It's going to be fascinating stuff. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. And some people are asking, by the way, just to clarify, that we are doing the warm-up on the weekends.
That's right.
Starting next weekend, October the 1st, it'll be on the Saturday, not on the Sunday.
No.
Touchdown for the New England Patriots, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's all looking pretty good for them.
Well,
they've got up to 9 points to 0 against the Houston Texans, and they're just about to kick for the extra point.
Oh, brilliant.
So you'll be able to talk us through this.
I'll try and pick that up on the way home. Oh, he's kicked it, and he's got it through the post, so that's good. Now, I want to get serious on it, right?
Yeah, all right then.
Now, you've just mentioned the warm-up, which was starting a week on Saturday.
That's correct.
And that's a week tomorrow, actually, isn't it? Yeah. And
it is a week tomorrow.
We've been asked many times, are you abandoning all your shows during the week? No, we're not. We will still be doing shows during the week. I think in a couple of weeks we're going to be doing daytime shows on Talk Radio and that sort of thing, and we'll be in this slot, and I'm moving around, so that's great.
Well, is that you getting serious, or is there some other thing you want to be
No,
serious about?
I'm getting serious about something else. What I was going to say is,
Yeah.
I was up very early this morning, despite our show last night, because I came into town to meet you because we were doing some work on the warm-up, okay, this morning.
What time did you get up?
Well, about 7, something like that, yeah.
So have you slept since then?
No, why would I?
Well, so you've had an hour's sleep.
Yeah, about that, hour and a half, something like that, 7:30.
How can you survive on an hour and a half sleep?
I don't feel it. It doesn't matter. I've not felt like I want to go back to bed or anything,
Really?
so it's fine. But we were busy this morning, weren't we?
Well, we were busy at sort of late morning, early afternoon.
We had a load of creative stuff to do.
Yeah,
we had
we
to
did.
get on with.
Yes.
And I had other things I had to do when I left you, relating to all sorts of other things, which we all know about. But anyway, the point of the story
I don't know
is...
about them.
Well, you should know about them because you're heavily involved in them. They're part
You
of
say
the...
we all know about them, not we. I mean, you and
Well,
I
you
may
and I.
know about them.
You and I.
So why do you mention things that nobody else knows about?
Well,
Said we
because
all know about
I
them.
should have said you and I.
Okay.
I meant the people in this studio,
Right.
which is only you and me know about, okay?
That's right, and the cat, of course.
Yeah, so if there's two of us, there's a we, okay?
Well, when you say we, generally, I
okay,
assume you're including the listeners.
Yeah, well, just shut up, will you? Let me get on with it. Now then, the point is, that meant I watched some breakfast television.
Oh, did you?
Now, do you know what I couldn't... I despaired utterly. You've been to university, and I've been to higher education, the University of...
You've been to Polytechnic.
Trent.
You see, we're almost honest there.
My
You're
niece...
almost honest.
My niece and nephew have been to university.
I like your niece.
Thank you. Your two elder children have both been to college,
I might give her a ring.
Why?
Well, just maybe see her for a drink or something.
Who?
Your niece.
Why?
Well, why not? She's a nice girl.
Yeah, she's a nice girl. What do you want to meet a fat old middle-aged guy like you for?
Well, it's not about that, is it? I just thought she might fancy going out for a drink.
Are you mad?
Why?
You're either mad or there's something wrong with you. You're some sort of weirdo.
Why am I a weirdo?
Because she'd like to mix with people of her own age,
Okay,
have the same thoughts and
well, it wasn't for
views on
nefarious
life.
purposes. I just thought she's a nice girl. She might occasionally like the benefit of some, advice from somebody who's a bit worldly wise.
No, she gets advice from me, her uncle.
Yeah, I
Don't
know,
worry
that's what
about
I'm
that.
worried about.
Yeah. Now then, what I was going to say is, so I'm watching all these... do you know that this is the week now that university starts? So
Yes.
it's Freshers' Week.
Is it?
It's Freshers'
Is
Week,
it?
right?
Okay.
You know what Freshers' Week is?
Yeah, of course I know what it is.
It's when new students turn
Yeah.
up.
I was only recently at the graduation ceremony of my daughter, right, where, I was surrounded by all these people from Academica, as you call it.
That's right, yeah.
I was very much immersed in all that.
But what got me was that the range of experts about, the new university term starts was made up entirely of psychologists and psychiatrists who are now banked in universities. Some universities have 10 or 12 people in these departments, right?
Yeah.
It's called student aid.
Right.
They've got full-time psychologists, full-time psychiatrists and all that. And this is their peak time of the year because these kids are arriving from their homes now to start out on the life of their own at university. And they have psychological problems about, being separated from their parents.
Well, that's fair enough.
They have psychological problems about trying to make new friends.
Well, why wouldn't they?
Psychological problems about loneliness.
Yeah.
Psychological problems about how to manage their money.
Well, I mean, for a lot of people, it's a very big step to leave your home, your parental home, for the first time in your life.
But it's always been a big step. It's been a big step since Oxford University was founded in 1542. By the way, have you seen that Oxford University has been named and voted as the best university in the world?
Has it?
Yeah.
By whom?
By the World Educational Forum of the United Nations.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And it's the first time that Oxford University, where I could have gone, has been...
you talk about it as if it's your alma mater.
Yeah.
It wasn't your alma mater.
Yeah.
You didn't go there, so what's the point of banging on about it?
It's been nominated as the world's top university for the first time, overtaken Yale, overtaken Harvard.
Really?
Yeah, overtaken... the Institute of Technology,
Massachusetts,
MIT.
MIT.
That's MIT. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Anyway, the point I'm making is,
What about St Andrews and Edinburgh?
well, they're all right.
Both of which are older, by the way, than either Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah. Okay, they're all right, but I mean,
They're very good, actually.
I know. I said they're very good, but they're not as good as Oxford. Anyway, the point of my story is
What
this:
is the point of your story?
that for hundreds of years, children have been leaving school and going and making their way in life by going to university or going to boarding school or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Why suddenly, in this day and age, where everything now has to be managed by the nanny state, do children need to have the availability of psychiatrists and psychologists because they feel isolated at university?
No, I don't think that's...
Did you ever go and see a psychologist when you went to Bath?
No, I didn't, no.
Did I ever go and see a psychologist when I went to Nottingham?
No, but they had the availability of counsellors at all times, and they always had that. And this is probably just an extension of that.
It's not. It's
Listen, I don't understand why you would have such an aversion to it.
I'll tell you why. It's become a ridiculous new industry, and I mean an industry. Some of these are full-time psychiatrists, who are,
But most universities are now
publishing ridiculous papers about how
run on private money anyway.
How you manage your new life and all this kind of stuff. It's utterly ridiculous. And do you know
maybe
what?
you should go and see a psychiatrist. It might help you out.
No, it's going to produce a nation now of people who think that unless they've got a crutch to lean on, right, unless they have some shoulder to support them.
The world has changed since you grew up.
Hang on.
Well, no, you hang on, because all you've done is talk, as many people have been pointing out on Twitter since you started the show.
What?
They've hardly heard me saying anything.
That's my job.
No, that's not your job.
It's my job to
The show is called The Two Mics.
Yeah.
We both have to talk,
Yeah.
okay?
Well,
so you listen to me for a second, right?
Yeah.
Now, the world has changed since you grew up.
Right.
The world has changed. You admitted yourself,
Yes.
you went out into the world with a very bizarre view of the world.
No, I didn't.
You thought, for example, in Chinese restaurants they serve dragon, because they had pictures of dragons outside. You wondered whether or not, the world was going to be the way it had been described to you. You wondered whether or not you'd ever get a car. You wondered whether or not you'd ever get a job.
Yeah,
nowadays,
I achieved all that.
Yeah, well, nowadays the world is very different. I've got children who are growing up and going through that process now, and for them it's very different.
Well,
I wouldn't mind at all if one of my kids at university said, I'd quite like to go and see a counsellor or a psychiatrist because I'm having a few problems.
I'd
There's
be
nothing wrong with
horrified.
that. Yeah, because you see it as a weakness.
No, I'd be
because
horrified.
You were
My kids
brought up by
want-
your parents to think that somehow to show weakness
no.
was a bad thing.
Not at all.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is we developed then a nation of people who think that without a support network behind them, they can't get on in life.
I don't think that's
I think
true.
it's ludicrous.
No.
I hate it. It's awful.
Why would you care?
It's the dependency culture.
Well, why
we
would
shouldn't
you
have
care?
it.
No, I don't. No, I think you're incapable of making a difference between having something available to you and being forced to go through something. Nobody's forcing anyone to go and see a psychiatrist. What they're saying is if you're having a few problems, just go and sort them out. It might be helpful to talk to someone.
I bet you they don't do it in China. I bet you in China you are thrown out of the nest and you're told make your way in life.
There's a lot of things that they do in China that I would rather we didn't do, to be honest.
I agree, but there's a lot of things in China they do which I wish we did do.
The world is not just about, being good at maths or getting a great job or whatever. There's a lot of other things in life that you should be worried about in terms terms of how your personality develops. You know, your personality
yeah.
is stunted. It's never developed.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
My
it is.
personality is not stunted.
It is stunted.
That's rubbish.
Because you're incapable of opening up and being intimate with anybody, which is why you've never been married.
No, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous
No, it's
assumption.
not ridiculous.
Listen, on the back of this, right, in one of my journals today, I find this. A generation of young women are racked by anxiety, they lack confidence, and they are in despair, a new report has revealed.
Well, hang on. The other day you were telling me that men suffer from anxiety more than women.
Yeah.
So this now is something different.
This is a report about women.
Yeah.
It says it found large numbers in their late teens.
Yeah.
So these are people going off to university.
Well, many of them won't be.
Well, some of them are. It found large numbers in their late teens and 20s are worn down and defeated by financial, work and housing problems.
Yeah.
OK?
Well, I can understand that.
So we've got an organisation called the Young Women's Trust.
What's wrong with that?
Well, and Dr. Carol Easton
Yeah.
of the Young Women's Trust,
Yes.
which compiled the study, said, while life is hard for many young people, our survey shows it is likely to be considerably tougher if you're a young woman. We are talking about a generation of young people in crisis.
Yeah.
What crisis? Honestly, what crisis?
What are you, Jim Callaghan now?
Exactly.
Crisis, what crisis?
Crisis, what crisis?
Well, the crisis, I would say, for an awful lot of young people, is that they don't feel that they'll ever be able to afford to buy a house, whereas in your time,
Yeah.
as you've quite readily admitted, it was an awful lot easier.
Much
They're much
easier.
more concerned that they won't be able to find a job which they will be able to have for a very long time.
More jobs than ever in this
Or
country.
for life, yeah, but they're all very short-term jobs.
More jobs than ever.
They are much less attractive than the ones that you and I ended up doing.
Okay.
For example, if you want to go into the world of media now,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a much more fractious and difficult place than it was when you and I were there.
Yeah, but
And
do you know why that is?
Well, I'll tell you why it is, because because there's more people now trying to get those jobs.
Exactly. It's an attractive profession to be in. The rewards are, pretty good. And exceptional if you rise right to the top and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And therefore people want to get in. That's called life. That's called
Yeah,
competition.
but life has changed. I mean, that's my point. I mean, people now come out of university with
Yeah.
huge debts, which you and I didn't have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got to do something about it and get on with
Yeah,
life.
but we didn't have that problem because we got it for free.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is you can't now have a situation where anybody who's a little bit anxious, I feel anxiety, runs off to see a counsellor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist to tell them, I feel anxious. Somebody's got to help me. You help yourself in this life. You
Yeah.
stand on your own 2 feet, you help yourself.
Well, it's very nice that you're such a man of the people that you can understand other people who may have difficulties in life. Matt says this,
Yes.
maybe Porky should have seen a psychiatrist or a psychologist when he was at the Polytechnic. It may have done him the world of good.
No, listen, I never had problems like that. I always thought to myself, right, I've got a bit of debt because I've spent too much money on booze this week. I had a solution. What I did was I didn't eat the following week and then made my money back up,
Why don't
okay?
you just have, sausage fat sandwiches?
Yeah, well, I could have done, I suppose. I mean, look, if you have beans on toast, it's just,
Take your time, by the way.
Oh, the poor guy exists on beans on toast. I like beans on toast. I'll exist on beans on
Yeah,
toast.
well, it wouldn't be a problem for
I
you.
tell you what, I never went down the route that some
You've
people.
seen the time.
People
you
used to
haven't
eat.
stopped tonight.
People used to eat kitty cat on toast.
Kitty cat?
Yeah.
What, cat food?
Yeah,
Ugh.
I know.
This is Talk Sport. University was actually founded in 1096, Porky,
Yes.
not 1542.
It moved to its
full of it.
No, it moved to its current premises in the city of Oxford.
Really?
At that time. Before that, it was just a vagabond straggle of ideas.
Vagabond straggle?
Yeah, it didn't have
Sounds like the name of a band from
didn't
the
have
70s.
didn't have a lot of location.
Matt says, I'm
yes.
surprised Porky didn't eat kitty cat on toast.
Yeah.
Cat starvation would have fitted in nicely with his feline genocide plans.
Yes. Why do you think we're playing Bruce Springsteen there?
No idea.
It's his birthday.
Who is it?
67 today.
67.
67.
Goodness me.
What do you think of Bruce Springsteen?
I like Bruce Springsteen a lot. I would say that I'm quite an expert on Bruce Springsteen, actually. However,
Yes.
there are certain periods of his time that I didn't particularly like. I mean, Born in the USA, for example,
Yeah.
I didn't like that particular period of Bruce Springsteen music.
Well, you didn't like that album
No.
where he had a pair of jeans on with a hanky
No.
coming out of his back pocket.
No, that was-
that's when he was at his height as the boss.
That was when he became very, very, very famous and became a sort of mega superstar.
He was the all-American boy.
Yeah, but he wasn't, though. That's the point.
Yeah,
I mean, if you knew anything about him, he comes from a very working-class background in New Jersey, right?
Yeah,
The Jersey
yeah,
Shore,
yeah, absolutely.
Asbury Park. And his earlier albums, like Born to Run and, The Wild, the Innocent, the East Street Shuffle, much more interesting than that period. It was just much more commercial by the time he started doing that.
I thought it was brilliant. In fact, that was the period I really did like.
Well,
I'm
you
not
would
sure
have
I've
done,
liked
'cause-
him very much since.
Yeah, but you should try and listen
Yeah.
to some of his earlier stuff.
Yeah.
It's a bit more acoustic, it's a
Yeah.
bit more interesting, and the lyrics are more, Born in the USA... and all that whole period, Dancing in the Dark and all that, when you had the girl from Friends come up to do
brilliant.
You know, it was all very commercialised by then.
It was. He used to dance on stage, didn't he? But I mean, he was at his height when we were in New York in the 80s, late 80s.
Well, his last great album before Born in the USA was like The River,
right,
which was terrific. And I went to see him actually on the River tour,
right,
and I saw him at Brighton Pavilion, 1980.
Really? Yeah, excellent. Let me tell you,
excellent.
No,
let's move on, shall we? And you tell one of your stories.
No.
Yeah, excellent.
What do you expect me to do? Spend 3 minutes now analysing your statement?
If you said to me, well, I went to see Bruce Springsteen once, I would say, okay, well, you know, what songs did he do?
Yeah.
You know, you asked me a couple
How
of
was
questions
it?
about
How was it for you? All right,
it was
good.
Great. Yeah,
great. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Okay,
you see, this is what I mean about you. You have absolutely no interest in anything that I can tell, and the reason is really the real truth about it is because my stories are more interesting than yours, and so you don't want me to tell them.
Well, no, I don't think that's the case. I think that I know what the audience wants. I have an intrinsic feel for it.
Is that right?
Now, what I was going to say was that he developed this huge social conscience, didn't he? And,
no, but he always had it. That's the point.
Well,
those people who knew him from the beginning.
Yes.
Knew. I mean, when he came here in 1975 to play Hammersmith Palais, Hammersmith Odeon rather, which is now Hammersmith Apollo, on the Born to Run tour, he was being hailed as a new Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
that's what he was. So he was a poet. He was a kind of a folky rock star.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of very good work. For instance, he helped enormously to make the terrible disease AIDS a public mission to beat it, because he wrote the theme song to the great film, didn't he? Called Streets of Philadelphia.
Streets of Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now, but I was going to say,
he also was instrumental in doing the "We Are the World" video. You know, which was their version of Live Aid and Band Aid.
That's right. Now, when I was at the BBC Supremo,
when you were the BBC Supremo,
sorry, I meant Daily Express. I'm going mad. I was thinking of Jeremy Vine there for a minute.
No, but, you know, Becky just said Porky sounds like he's on a cocktail of caffeine, Red Bull, and PEDs. Remember what that stands for?
PED.
PEDs. We did this the other day.
PED. Perpetually ending.
Well, perpetually not ending, actually. No, PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'm not on those.
Get some sleep, she says.
Yeah, no. Now, listen, what I was going to say is, so there I am, Supremo at the Express, and there's a Bruce Springsteen concert in town. I don't know which one it was.
What, in Nottingham?
No, in London.
Oh, in London.
In London. So this would be about 87, 88 or something.
Oh, actually, I've just remembered I saw him again.
Oh, really? When?
It was in Earl's Court in London.
What year was that?
It must have been, it was when I was still at the Express in London, I think, or maybe at the Mirror. So it would have been about sort of 99.
Oh, okay. No, this was a decade earlier. So anyway, I send along this very attractive young lady who's our reviewer, you know. Yeah. And
do I know her?
Well, I can't even remember her name.
Really?
No. She's a lovely girl. And anyway, so next day, you know...
It wasn't Louise Gannon, was it?
No, it wasn't Louise Gannon. She interviews everybody who's famous in the world now. She's married to that lad who used to be the editor of Punch before it went to the war.
Right, yeah.
Can't
remember his name.
James
somebody.
Very nice chap. And Louise Gannon, she did work for me at the Express, and in those days she was just like a showbiz reporter. But you see her now; she's flying all over the world interviewing superstars, and she's built up a huge reputation.
Absolutely.
Good luck to her.
Well, you trained her well.
Indeed, I did. Yeah,
I'm sure she would say that if I asked her.
But anyway, this the young girl I'm talking about, she came back next day, and I said, "How'd it go last night? Then, when are you going to give us your review?" She said, "Oh, it went fine." She said, "Apart from one record which she introduced like this." I said, "What?" He walked to the front of the stage and he said, "This next song, people, is from my children for your children." And everybody went,
"What's wrong with that?"
Well, it's so mulchy, isn't it? From my children for your children. Well, I mean,
you've got no soul, have you?
He's a rock star. He just get up and say,
right,
I wrote this one after, so-and-so.
No, I mean, he's not. In fact, his book has just come out as well.
Yes, it has,
he's talked about how he suffered from depression an awful lot, particularly, when his marriage broke up and he started, going out with one of the singers in the band and all this kind of thing. And his life changed. He moved to California. He's a fascinating guy. Yeah. But I mean, your knowledge of him has only dipped into the surface of it.
Well, I, funny enough, read an interview with him in your favourite paper, the New York Times,
about my favourite paper.
About his book.
When did I say the New York Times was my favourite paper?
Well, you seem to refer to it all the time.
I don't refer to it all the time. I've referred to it once.
No, you refer to it all the time. But anyway, and they gave him a Q&A on books because his book's just come out.
Yes.
And he's gone down the old, John Lennon and Joey Barton route.
Oh, yeah.
What's your favourite book? Oh, Jung. Like Jung, the German philosopher. Yeah, I read him all the time.
Kant, then.
Eh?
Not Kant.
No, I don't know if he's reading Kant or whatever, you know. But he read Jung and Engels and all this, you know,
Yeah,
load
but I
of
mean, he's a
bollocks,
very thoughtful. I mean, he is not. He's
Yeah.
not like Axl Rose. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a very thoughtful and sort of, you know,
Yeah, but sometimes...
self-doubting individual.
Yeah, but
And
sometimes...
he writes better songs sometimes when he's feeling down than he does when he's feeling up.
Sometimes thoughtful and self-doubting people can be a bit of a pain in the ass, can't
Yeah,
they?
but
You
that's
know
only
what I
because
mean?
you view it as a weakness.
No, I
There's
don't
nothing
view
wrong
it
with
as a
self-doubt.
weakness.
Anybody who has actually got anything about them,
Yeah.
of course, will have some self-doubt. They don't just, you know, bulldoze their way through life thinking
But I
they're going to
think
be great
I think
at
it's a
everything.
bit self-indulgent self-doubt. You know, oh, look at me, I'm a
Well, don't
sensitive...
you ever have any self-doubt?
No.
Well, you should have.
If we had
Well,
self-doubt...
you bloody well should have.
Hang on, if we had self-doubt and we walked onto a stage like we're going to on Saturday night in Whitley Bay,
Yeah.
and sometimes a very
Are
big
you
stage,
seriously telling me that
like the
people...
Edinburgh Festival...
I mean, you've actually seriously asked this
Yeah.
question in the past. You know, why is it that comedians sometimes have such terribly difficult private lives and have so much time spent in depression?
Yes.
It's because it isn't very easy to do that sort of thing without having some form of self-doubt. You know, some
Yeah.
people decide that they want to get drunk before they go on stage. Other people do it by taking
Well,
drugs.
Billy Connolly's never had that problem.
How do you know that?
Well, because I
You
have
think
kept
Billy
into-
Connolly's never had self-doubt?
You know, I told you about Billy Connolly one night in New York.
You did,
I
yeah.
don't know where you
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, I
Where
wasn't
he-
there.
Where he came off stage, right? Came off stage, and it was his first time in America. And so the English press corps, or British press corps, I should say, because of course there were a lot of Scottish lads there, and some had travelled with him, were, you know, all very supportive of him. And we were in the dressing room. He came off, got a great ovation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he hadn't had a drink all day. He would not take a drink off us all day. You
Yeah.
know, we'd been out with him and
Which wasn't the case for you, presumably.
no,
I don't
it
mean
wasn't.
You
What-
singular, I mean you
no,
plural.
No, it wasn't. Came on stage. He opened a bottle of whiskey,
Yeah.
which he pulled out of his bag.
Yeah.
He had it in his, like, you know, like
Right.
his travel bag, his squash bag or whatever. And he necked it, and he necked a third of it in seconds. I've never seen a guy go from stone cold sober
Yeah.
to paralytic so fast.
But there's a reason for that, though.
So
But there's a
fast, it was
reason for that, right?
unbelievable.
Because you know
Yeah.
as well as I do that there's a sort of adrenaline buzz that you get from being
Well,
on
exactly.
stage. You
Yeah.
come off stage, take a mouthful of whiskey, take another mouthful of whiskey. I'm
That's
not
right.
surprised he was paralytic.
That's
You know.
right, yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah.
anyway, we're out of time once again. I can't remember what we were going to be
okay,
talking about there, but let me read you this from Peter. He said, were Porky's Kippers smoked in methamphetamine on the boat? He's particularly annoying and stupid this morning.
Well, that's very nice,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, come on, this is a bit harsh. I put myself, you know, onto the airwaves at this time of the day to enlighten...
Yeah, but you still got to get some sleep in the meantime.
hang on, to enlighten, brighten and inform millions of people around the world, which I delight in doing and which, you know, I expect to be received with a bit of dignity.
Really?
And you know, a bit of, you know, that's a nice stadium they're playing this NFL
Yeah,
game
do you
in.
remember the name of it?
Now, who's playing again?
It's the New England Patriots Stadium.
Yeah.
And they're playing against the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
And I told you earlier where it was and what the name of the stadium was.
Did you?
Yes.
Right.
When we were talking to Mark Donaldson.
New England Patriots
Yes.
play in...
What's the name of the town?
Well, it's obviously in New England. So
yes.
that's about 4 states, isn't it? So it must be somewhere... I don't suppose it's Boston, is it?
It's not far from Boston.
Right, Boston.
But the town is called something else. It begins with F.
Would I know it? It's a
Well, I
pocket town?
told, told you where it
Well,
was.
I wasn't listening. Well, you
You
better
weren't
tell
listening.
me. You better tell
Foxborough.
me. Foxborough. I've never heard of Foxborough.
And I told you as well what the name of the stadium was.
What is it?
Gillette Stadium.
Gillette, as in Gillette.
As in Penn and
The
Teller.
best a man can get.
No, as in Penn and Teller, actually.
There was a girl I worked
Or
with.
Gillette and
once.
Hicks, who used to own...
Gillette and Hicks, yeah. There was a
Liverpool.
There was a
Have
young
you seen
lady.
the time?
There's
Don't tell me another
yeah,
story.
just very quickly. There's a young
There
lady.
isn't time.
I worked with once called Jeanette.
Yeah.
She's a young reporter.
Right.
And all the boys in the newsroom used to sing, Jeanette, the best a man could get.
How
Yeah.
sexist.
Well,
is that?
it was a bit in those days, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
it was meant affectionately.
Oh, well, I'm sure she loved that every day
Yeah.
when she went into
Yeah.
work. Poor
Yeah.
woman. She's probably having psychiatric treatment as we speak.
That's a bit harsh.
This is Talk Sport.
Spoken like a true man.
Do you come from a land down under? Where women go and men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover.
This This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out in a little while. The Porky Quiz, of course, is coming up on the next hour, and it's going to be on the northeast, of course, because we're off to Whitley Bay to the Playhouse tomorrow night. You can still get tickets if you go up there and get them, or you can try and look on the twomics.co.uk. Meanwhile, though, it's time to go down under, of course. That music signifies the arrival of the beautiful Ms. Sandra Lee. Sandra, very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning to you, and what a lovely introduction. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I thought I should do it rather than Porky, because he's particularly charmless this evening. He's having a go at almost everybody and anybody who needs help, who needs psychiatric counselling, who might have had a difficult time leaving their parental home and going off to university for the first time, because here sits a man who has never had to do anything like seek help from anyone, because he's so brilliant at everything. He's done it all by himself.
Well, Sandra, it's great having the show. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm sorry about that moronic rant from the other mic. And can I just say, it's lovely to be able to introduce a lady as a beautiful woman without being accused of being sexist. In this country now, you won't believe this, Sandra, sometimes you open a door for a lady and the lady says, no, you go first. I don't need your help, thank you. It's an absolute disgrace. Have you got that sort of problem in Australia?
Well, if it ever happened to me, I would always say thank you very much, and chivalry is not dead. Long live it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you
there.
there.
There's a big difference as well between chivalry and sexism, but I'm not sure that Porky knows the difference.
Well, of course I do.
That's the thing. Now, we normally talk about shark attacks in Australia, Sandra, but this week there's been a couple of croc attacks.
Indeed.
Just to sort of slightly change the from the sea to the land scenario.
That's exactly right. In fact, one attack happened yesterday up at the Barefoot Bushman's Wildlife Park in the Northern Territory. This guy considers himself to have been the precursor to Steve Irwin, and we all know who Steve Irwin was. And he was feeding a 5-metre saltwater crocodile on his farm, or, a tourist attraction. And he got a bit too close, and the croc took part of his hand off and a big chunk of his thigh.
That's a massive crocodile as well, isn't it? 5 metres long.
Huge. What I find odd here is...
It's massive.
It is massive. And this is Rob Breedle, is it?
Yes, that's
the Barefoot Bushman. What I find really odd in the report that I've seen on this, it says that he's very lucky and he'll just need a bit of minor amputation. I thought, well, amputation's amputation. Not sure what's too minor about it, but these guys have an attitude to life where they can't seem to sort of wait to get back to the farm and start wrestling with a few more crocodiles.
I think they have this weird adrenaline charge from it. I don't get it. It must be sort of that, danger gene or the danger junkie gene that some people seem to have. And there seem to be quite a few of them up in the Northern Territory, that's for sure, because the other near attack that happened this week was a woman. She was up there with her tiny little puppy called Meatball. It was a little tiny thing. So the irony of that is sort of inescapable. But she's at a place called Carl's Crossing, where it's a known breeding ground for saltwater crocodiles, and apparently right now it's the breeding time. So the crocs up there are pretty frisky, and they all get around together in massive packs. I'm not sure what a pack of crocodiles is called, but a croc of crocs possibly.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, she got right to the edge of the water, and she was sort of looking at these 4-metre crocs sort of swimming over to her, and then she picks up a stick and throws it at them.
Yeah. Like as though they were fish and she was feeding them or something like that. I mean, it's quite ridiculous, isn't it, when you think that if... I read a report saying she was unsteady on her feet. Now, whether or not she was intoxicated or something, I've no idea, but surely...
Why would you allege that?
Well, if you're unsteady on your feet, you're unsteady on your feet for some reason.
Well,
so
she might have been dizzy.
Well, she might have been dizzy, yeah, but I mean, at the same time...
She might have been suffering from some kind of illness.
She might have been intoxicated.
You assume that she's intoxicated.
Yeah, I do.
Because that's the only time you're ever unsteady on your feet.
No, I assume that people who are unsteady on their feet are probably bladderated, from having too much wine at lunchtime, something like that. But anyway, the point of the story is... Don't we all know that the main thing a croc does, a croc doesn't eat you immediately. A croc grabs your leg, drags you underwater, and then buries you in the base of the river to come back and have you as a tasty snack later. That's basically the way they operate, isn't it?
That's exactly how they operate. They take you in a great big death roll, drown you, and then stuff you away for later.
Good God, that's horrible, isn't it?
I mean,
so
look,
horrible.
just going back to the barefoot, what's his name, barefoot bushman, Mr. Breedle. I've seen a picture of him with his head right next to the mouth of a crocodile.
Unbelievable.
You know, and these guys, I mean, a bit like Steve Irwin, as you say, you know, where he used to creep up behind them and sort of, you know, play tricks on them and all the rest of it. I mean, it's just a bizarre way to operate, isn't it? Because these things are dangerous.
They are incredibly dangerous, and it is, I would say, it's the height of insanity to want to do this for a profession and, you know, to take a risk with your life and other people's lives. It's just sort of, I don't know, where does it come from? I don't get it myself.
Yeah. Now, we know that...
See, that's as in, I've got another more important question to
No,
ask
not
you,
at
Sandra,
all.
so
Not
I'm
at
not
all.
going to bother
Not at all.
listening to anything you've said.
No, that's such an interesting point. I want to develop it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Go on, then.
And what I was going to say, Sandra, was that we all remember the film Crocodile Dundee. I mean, that was massive in America when we all worked there as young people and all that kind of stuff. Now, do people like that actually exist? Because, you know, and have almost this, you know, mesmeric sort of relationship with the animals.
Paul Hogan exists.
Well, Paul Hogan exists as an actor, but I mean, he played a guy, didn't he, who basically could, you know, jump on the back of a crocodile and kill it with, you know, a 6-inch knife and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what I'm saying is, I suppose crocodiles form a part of the culture of Australia because they're there and somebody has to deal with them.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And these people who do it, they do take it on at an early age. I mean, you only have to look at Steve Irwin's kids, Bindi and Bob. I mean, they're both involved in the trade, and they're doing pretty much what Dad did so fearlessly all those years ago. You know, 10 years ago before when he was killed by that stingray. But it's interesting that they still want to go on when they know the risks, which Carla Breedle, the barefoot bushman's niece, was attacked by a croc at the same wildlife park. So it's not as if they haven't seen it happen before, and yet they still do it.
Yeah.
I know. And
what happens to the crocodile? I mean, if they can identify the crocodile that attacked him,
they're protected, aren't they?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I'm not asking you. I'm asking Sandra, who knows about it. So what happens?
I don't think they'll kill croc because it's part of.
Go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do they have to shoot anything that attacks a human?
But they're on his farm, aren't they?
Well, I'm asking Sandra.
Well, if you'd read the report properly, you'd know it was on the farm,
yeah,
Sandra.
Well, we could all just read everything, and you could just tell everybody what you've read, and we couldn't have anybody on the show. Would you like it better that way?
No, stop whinging.
I'm asking Sandra the question. Would they kill the croc, or would they are they not allowed to do that?
No, I don't think they'll kill the croc. I think these people do have a respect for the crocs that are on their wildlife park. And also, it's a tourist attraction. I think it'll probably sort of draw more people in. They'll say, my God, just how bonkers are these people?
Yeah.
Well, if we do go down to Australia, maybe we should go down to one of these croc parks.
That's right. That's right.
Push you towards one of them.
Actually, this is a very timely conversation to have with you, Sandra, because I think we mentioned to you last time we spoke to you that we were thinking of coming to Australia, maybe even the Sydney Opera House. We have met now a promoter in this country who books people into theatres in the Sydney Opera House, and we are a bit closer to maybe making a visit there next year.
That'll be brilliant.
It would be absolutely brilliant. Of course, you would be a guest of honour with your husband sitting in the front row, and if you wanted to write a very positive review for one of those many papers in Sydney...
If he invites you to his hotel room, don't go, though,
well,
Sandra. That would be my suggestion.
No. Won't be anything like that going on, believe me. Very respectable man. Now, talking about...
not respectable in the least.
Talking about the world of showbiz, Sandra, how has the Brangelina world scandal affected people in Australia?
Well, it hasn't affected us very much other than as a curiosity. And I think a lot of people who are obsessed by celebrity are sort of amazed that their marriage, their much-lauded marriage is broken up. But I have to say, personally, I don't care. And secondly, I'm not surprised. You know, how many celebrity marriages last more than 10 years? It seems that 10 years in a celebrity marriage is like 40 years in a regular marriage.
And of course, quite recently, you had the Johnny Depp situation, didn't you, where... You know, he gave that ridiculous sort of interview of, the apology for...
And he was still with Amber Heard then,
Yeah, he was, yeah. So you've already seen that at first hand, haven't you, in the way that broke down?
Yes, and everybody was blaming the Australian authorities for that marriage breakdown, and possibly that might have had something to do with it, the stress of having to come back and make that embarrassing, humiliating apology.
Exactly,
on slightly less frivolous matters, and you can't really take Porky too far away from the gutter tabloid journalism he used to practice. We're nearing, as it seems, inevitably the voting in the American election. In fact, some voting has already begun. I'm told, because they've got this weird system
postal
now
vote,
where not just postal vote, but in certain parts of the country people can vote earlier. Is there a sort of fear of Donald Trump coming to power in Australia? Are people sort of lining up on either side? Are there people supporting him? What's going on?
I think the situation in Australia pretty much mirrors that in America. You either love him or you hate him. And I think same goes with Hillary Clinton. You either love her or you hate her. I have to say they're probably the two most hated candidates in recent history. I can't remember a fight like this where absolutely no love for either candidate.
No, I totally agree. Have you also noticed as well, Sandra, that almost all information in the world now, it appears to me, is available to somebody who's clever with a computer? So, for instance, Hillary Clinton's emails have been hacked by the Russians. We now found that some of Donald Trump's have been hacked by the Chinese. I mean, it seems since we all started using computers, instead of writing things on bits of paper and locking them in our desk drawer, information is available to anybody, from anybody, and that will spread all around the world, including Australia.
Yep, absolutely. As my husband, who is in this industry, says, there isn't a lock that hasn't had a key made for it when it comes to cybersecurity.
Yeah.
At some point, everybody is going to be vulnerable, and what you have to do is just keep updating, changing passwords, keep your virus barriers, all of that. But the fact that those clowns sort of had their information hacked goes down to a lot of their own decisions and what they did. I mean, Hillary Clinton's manoeuvres on her as Secretary of State were ridiculous.
Yeah, they were. We're getting a very bad line here, Sandra. But listen, thank you very much,
Sandra.
Indeed,
thanks ever so much. Always great to talk to you.
Somewhat out of time, but the line seems to be deteriorating.
Yes.
We'll talk some more about the hacking thing because I've got some bad news for you on that front. I have indeed. Here's one from Mark the Taxi. I reckon Parry's on speed. Hasn't stopped speaking. Sleep deprivation, gobbledygook.
No.
Let's talk sport.
It's strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. The Porky Quiz gets ever nearer. It's going to be on the northeast, of course, because we're off to Whitley Bay in the morning. Well, sort of sometime late morning. And the northeast of England beckons for us, so it's going to be very exciting. If you are coming, we're looking forward very much to see it. If you'd like to come, then check it out on the twomics.co.uk or at the Whitley Bay Playhouse box office where you can get tickets. I should point out, by the way, Mr. Parry, that I got a tweet from Brian, who's putting us on tomorrow night at the Whitley Bay Playhouse. You know how you said you might go for a paddle or a swim on the Sunday after the show?
Yeah.
Apparently, the 5th annual North East Skinny Dip is taking place on the 25th of September, which is the Sunday, in a place called Druridge Bay Country Park, Northumberland.
Oh, never
know
heard
where
of
that
that.
is?
No.
All right. So you can sign up if you like.
Yeah, but he won't be there. I'm afraid I'm talking real early. I'm talking about 6 a.m. because we've got to leave pretty sharpish on Sunday to get back to London. We have a show on Sunday afternoon here on Talk Sport.
We do indeed. Yeah. Now, a couple of people have told us that, do you know the collective word for a crocodile, a collection of crocodiles, is actually a basque of crocodiles?
A basque, a B-A-S-K.
B-A-S-K, no.
Like basking in the water.
Yeah, a bit like that. Not as in B-A-S-Q-U-E, of course. A different kind of bath.
Well, very different indeed.
But we don't want to talk about that now.
No.
Are you ready to do a bit of predicting? For
Indeed, I certainly am.
You know what I don't have, though, is a pen.
Okay, well, I always have a pen, of course. I carry one around with me.
I can see a pen, but it's not within my reach.
I can't understand how you can have gone through life as a journalist without a pen. I think it's a disgrace.
Well, I don't go around reporting on things anymore.
Not only do I have a pen at all times, but I have a very expensive pen most of the time with me because I believe that you should have one. It's the one tool of our trade which is invaluable.
No, it's not, because I write everything on my phone now.
What?
I write everything on my phone.
Yeah, well,
if I need to take notes on anything, I put it on my phone. Yeah. If I need to put anything in a diary, put it on my phone. Yeah. If I need to make a note of anything in particular, like an aide de memoire, it's all on my phone.
Okay.
So why would I need to carry a pen around and bits of paper, like some kind of medieval traveller?
I write on anything. But anyway, listen, before we go any further, just in case I lose this note, Graham says, can you put a shout-out to Lynn in a car crash in Argyll? She's listening to you. Yeah, well, if you've been in a car crash, I'm very sorry to hear that, Lynn.
Is she still in the car, or is she...
I don't know. But listen, if you're listening and it's Confident Soccer, hearing our voices on your radio while you're maybe trapped in the mangled remains of a car, which I hope you're not, seriously, then, hope all is well.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name is Lynn.
Lynn, okay,
Yes,
Lynn. Well,
and she
I hope
is
you,
related to Graham.
Get well soon. Now, we've got to do what we did last week, which is to predict a few of the scores for the Premier League games.
Okay.
It was relatively close, I would say, last week, but edged by me. So I'm one up at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
You want to kick off with Manchester United against Leicester City?
Yeah, Manchester United, Leicester City. That's at Man United. That's at Old Trafford. Give me a really tough one, this is Manchester United, because they're under so much pressure. However, Leicester, I can feel a temptation
to go turned into some kind of medium.
No, to go for an away victory here. Temptation indeed. I'm going to say here. I'm going to sit on the fence. 2-2.
2-2. Okay. Well, just in order to make it a little bit different, I'm going to say 2-1 to Leicester.
2-1 to Leicester, an away win.
Very interesting indeed.
Yeah.
Next game up is Bournemouth-Everton.
Bournemouth-Everton.
Lukaku, I'm told, is going to be back in training today.
Yep.
After that terrible injury he suffered when he was trying to fake scoring that goal the weekend before.
You mean the stretch injury?
Yeah.
Lukaku. Right, I say Everton are going to win this game and restore their winning streak after getting very surprisingly beaten by Norwich at Goodison.
Yes.
Well done, Norwich, and you deserved it, but it was a disappointment. And I'm going to say Bournemouth 1, Everton 3.
Yeah, I can't see Everton losing this game. I'm going to say they're not going to let a goal in either, and I'm going to say, because I think Koeman's got them quite well organised.
Koeman. Yeah.
I'm going to say 2-0 to Everton.
Okay, good.
Next one, Liverpool against Hull.
Yeah, Liverpool against Hull. I think Liverpool are running into terrific form, and they have a power and persuasion about them when they're on the rampage, and Anfield, of course, is becoming their fortress. I'm going to go for a 4-1.
I'm going to go 3-0
for
Liverpool. Next one, what is the next game up? It's Tottenham...
Middlesbrough,
Tottenham, yeah.
Middlesbrough, Tottenham, yeah. I think Tottenham are on the rampage as well. Saw Middlesbrough last week, of course, against Everton, and they've got a bit of work to do to...
Were they any good? What did you think?
I thought they were okay, and I thought Everton, did well to dismantle them in the first half. Didn't have much to come back to in the second half. I'm going to go Middlesbrough 0, Tottenham 2.
Yeah, it depends which Tottenham turns up, doesn't it, really?
I suppose it does, but they've got quality players.
Harry Kane's not playing, I presume. He's injured, right?
Injured, yeah.
Yeah.
This new lad who's taken over from 22, is his name... Is it Aris, I think? I thought it was...
Aris?
I think it's literally A-R-A-S-S, is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to say 1-1.
Okay, 1-1.
I'm not sure away from home Tottenham have got it yet. Stoke against West Brom.
Yeah.
I think I heard it's the 1,000th game for Tony Pulis.
That's right, and he's being admitted to the League Managers Hall of Fame. Yeah, which you get into if you do 1,000 games.
Yeah. It'd be ironic if he got fired after his 1,000th game, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't think he's going to get fired. I think there may be a partner of the ways, because I'm not sure they're singing from the same hymn sheet.
The same thing, doesn't it?
Well, we'll see. Stoke are in a perilous position and a parlous position.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll get any better for them, because I think West Brom will really punish them at their most vulnerable places. So I'm going to go Stoke 0, because they're having trouble scoring goals. West Brom 2.
Yeah. Well, they haven't won a game yet, Stoke, have they?
No.
I mean, that's the problem.
No.
They've drawn 1 and lost 4.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think West Brom are going to beat them. I'm going to go 2-0 to West Brom.
2-0, yeah. Well, I've done the same.
Okay.
Right.
You're just copying me now, aren't
No,
you?
well, I went first, so I can't really copy if I go first, can
I wouldn't say that. Now, Sunderland taking on
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Who haven't had a bad start, have they?
They're doing well now, Palace, and Everton play them next week. I think it's a Friday night game, actually, so there might be one I'll be able to shoot up and see.
Go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not at Crystal Palace then?
It's at Goodison.
Okay.
I think Davy Moyes having real problems with Sunderland, and again, I believe that they're going to struggle at home. Sunderland 1, Crystal Palace 2.
Well, they're the only other team that haven't won a game yet.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm going to see whether Sunderland can do something. The trouble is, you watch David Moyes, and he doesn't inspire you, does it? He kind of gives the impression of a guy who's arrived at a place, realises that it's a lot worse than he thought, and doesn't really hold out any great hope for fixing it.
Well, he's got a great track record of success.
Well, he hasn't anymore. He had a great track record of success,
yeah.
but then he went to Man United where he failed,
Yeah.
and then he went to Sociedad where he failed. So
yeah.
actually his track record is not of success.
Well, they were two pretty extraordinary locations for him to go into. But, I mean, when in a domestic situation that he knows well, the Premier League, I think he'll come through as a success again. But I think there's a lot more work to be done at Sunderland yet, so I'm going to go Sunderland 1, Crystal Palace 2.
OK, I'm going to say 0-0.
OK.
Because if he's going to do anything, that's where he needs to start, I suppose.
OK.
Swansea, where we talked about the possibility of Ryan
Yep.
Giggs showing up against Manchester City.
Yeah.
They were sort of on the rampage, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Aguero's still out, I think, isn't he?
Aguero, I think, is still out. Swansea 1, Manchester City 4.
Yeah.
You don't need to say anything more.
I think you're right. I'm
Yeah.
going to have to go along with that, really,
Right.
because it doesn't seem to matter whether he's playing or not,
No,
Aguero.
that's right.
Arsenal-Chelsea, massive game, live on TalkSport,
Yeah.
5:30 kickoff
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is huge, isn't it?
Huge game.
Because, I mean, they're both on 10 points, both in
Yeah.
the top 4.
Exactly.
Whoever loses this game drops
Exactly.
out of the top 4, in my
Exactly, yeah. I think Mr. Conte will be outdone by Arsene Wenger's thinking because of his experience. I'm going to go Arsenal 2, Chelsea 1.
Yeah, OK. It's hard to tell with Arsenal at the moment, isn't it?
Of course
because
it
they
is.
haven't really played a decent game yet, which is very odd. I'm going to call it 2-2.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And then we go to Sunday, West Ham United against Southampton.
Yes.
It's a Sunday game at 4 o'clock, I think.
Yes.
Home once again at the old
Yes.
London Stadium.
Yeah.
We'll see whether they've got any more clue as to how to sort out the security problem.
Well, I think West Ham will be set by problems, and I don't see them being solved any time soon. And I also see their manager now, Bilic,
Yeah.
looking a bit confused about
Yeah.
what's going on. You see what I mean?
No, yeah.
So I think Southampton will take advantage of that. So I'm going to go.
I quite like Southampton at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to go West Ham United 1, Southampton 3.
I'm going to go 2-1 to Southampton.
Okay.
We haven't got that many different at the moment.
No, we haven't. No.
And then finally, Burnley against Watford.
Yes.
Watford looking quite interesting at the moment.
Watford looking, they've had some good results, but
And Sean Dyche.
I believe in
Yeah,
Sean
Burnley.
Dyche. I believe in them at home, so I'm going to say Burnley 2, Watford 1.
You believe in Sean Dyche?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Really? Would you like to give us a little blast of his accent?
I said Joey Barton coming back to Burnley. No, I don't think so. No, thank you.
I'm going to go 1-0 Watford.
Did my voice inside. Oh dear.
That'll teach you. Stick to Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, that's right.
on that
Yeah.
front. Right.
Tell on you.
So there we are. So we've done them all. What will happen is on Monday evening we shall have a look and see who's
Yeah.
come out on top, and see if you can
Yes.
pull one back, basically.
Yes.
Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be going over to the Porky Quiz.
Yes.
So I hope you've been doing your research on
Going over to that, are we?
We're going over to it.
Where
yeah.
is that then? Like sort of New Jersey or is it? Yeah.
Well, we're going over to it because it's not here.
What do you mean?
We're going over to do the Porky Quiz.
What do you mean it's not here?
Well, it's not here at the moment. I haven't got the questions yet.
We're not going anywhere. We're here, and the quiz will be brought to us.
Yeah,
okay?
but it's a manner of speaking, isn't it?
Yes,
You
yeah.
go over to do something which is different from what you're doing now.
Do you know that? Yes, okay. Bruce Springsteen's forthcoming memoir, Born to Run,
Yes.
written in secret over the past 7 years. I've been researching this since you started talking about him.
Well, I told you about the book, didn't I?
Yeah, it covers his fractious relationship with his father,
Yeah.
his late life bouts of crushing
I
depression,
told you about that as well.
and everything in between. Promises the full immersion into the world of the boss that his fans have been waiting for. So what's happened is they've released a chapter and verse compilation.
Compilation?
Yeah, of some of his.
Greatest hits?
Well, no, they say sublime retrospective tracks which capture the emotion and drama of his life.
Yeah. Well, I'll look forward to it. I've probably already got most of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're out of time once more, as you've been rabbiting on. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later
Indeed.
on. And then we are, just to remind everybody, if you didn't know, doing a show from 1 to 4 in the afternoon on Sunday.
Yes.
Just ahead of the West Ham game.
We certainly are.
Now-
Absolutely right.
Now, let me take you back to a few weeks ago.
Let me take you back.
yeah.
Yes, sorry, go on.
Or down even.
Yes.
To the Tom Hiddleston, Taylor Swift scenario.
Indeed.
Right? Now, there was a piece in the Hollywood Reporter, funnily enough, just the other day. Do you remember how I told you I thought it was a bit of a stunt?
Yeah.
And the other day, a guy called Josh Sapin,
Right.
who is head of the something called the AMC Networks.
Right.
He says that, isn't it interesting that the short-lived love affair between Tom Hiddleston and Taylor Swift was conveniently timed to the airing of AMC's limited series, The Night Manager?
Yeah. Was it?
So while
I didn't know that.
while they were showing The Night Manager on this network over in
Yes,
America,
yeah.
that was when he was going out with Taylor Swift.
Really, yeah.
Now, does that not feed into my theory?
Into your conspiracy theory?
Yes.
Yeah, it does a bit. I tell you what, it would have been very popular in America anyway way, because apart from Tom Hiddleston, who was relatively unknown before the series, the main star of that show was very well known in America.
From House,
From House,
yes.
Absolutely. Hugh, what's his name?
Hugh Laurie, yes.
So I wouldn't have thought they needed that much sort of extra, push to promote it. I would have thought it'd been very popular anyway.
Yes.
And I thought Hugh Laurie was brilliant in it, by the way.
Oh, he was, yeah. There is going to be
terrific.
another series, isn't there?
No, I don't think there is because, I know what Tom
sure?
Hiddleston, who is a Cambridge, I think he's an Oxford graduate, he's either Oxford or Cambridge, as is Hugh Laurie, right? And I think they both said, how can there be a sequel? This was a one-off publication written by, the great spy master author, John le Carré.
John le Carré, yes.
And we'd have to invent a sequel because it wasn't written by John le Carré, and that would be completely out of order, you know what I mean?
Right.
It'd be like, say, we're going to do Goldfinger 2, you know what I mean? And of course...
that wouldn't be the first time they've remade something.
Are
you sure there's not going to... I'm sure they said there was going to be a second series.
I've never read there will be a second series.
Really?
I've read that, no, it was a one-off complete John le Carré story. How could we possibly produce a second one? No, when I say Goldfinger 2, I mean, yes, since Ian Fleming died, other books have had to be written.
Yes.
James Bond books, and they've turned into film scripts.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you can't have a Goldfinger 2.
You can't bring Goldfinger back.
No, exactly. No. That's what I'm saying.
But I guess what you could do is you could make another Goldfinger and just say, this is a new version of Goldfinger.
Yeah, of course you could, but that would...
Which is what I bet you they'll start doing that soon.
I suppose they'll have to, because it now looks so dated, Goldfinger, although I still think it's a classic. But, I mean, every great film has eventually been remade.
Yeah, well, this week it's The Magnificent Seven,
That's right, Magnificent Seven, absolutely right, yeah. Now, listen, a couple of observations, please.
Yes.
Jude sends me a tweet. Thank you very much indeed. She sends it to you as well. She says... of you, she says, I agree with MG regarding how difficult it is for most young people nowadays, but old Porky, like most bigots of his age, doesn't realise...
It's a bit harsh.
Yeah, exactly, how easy he had it. Well, can I just say, Jude, that things were different in my day. I've seen student accommodation that people get these days, when the young people get these days in university, and it is so high class compared to the sort of conditions you and I lived in.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It was more or less a slum condition.
When I lived
in one of the houses in Bath that I lived in, I told you, the bed, one of the beds in one of the rooms was propped up on these large empty jars of Branston pickle.
Exactly, yeah, you told me,
sort of, what do you call catering style?
I mean, we lived in places that didn't have hot running water and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it was honestly peasant-like conditions. I went to see a mate of mine in Cambridge. He was studying medicine in Cambridge for a May ball, and the place he lived in, or about 8 of them living in a 2 up, 2 down, and he was sleeping, on the floor in the lounge and all sorts of things. So I would say that was better. I would also say that because of the generational difference, a lot of students these days are able to get help from the bank of mum and dad.
Yeah.
My parents never gave me a penny.
No.
I mean, they didn't have it to give to me, you know what I mean?
But then you didn't really need it as much either, because there was... I mean, I wouldn't minimise what you guys did in your generation or even in mine.
No, I agree.
Because, you still had to work pretty hard and you still had to do quite a lot of things.
I took a job in a bar 2 nights a week
to
earn money just to get through, the amount of time
just to
I was
get
at
the free drink.
Yeah, well, and a bit of free drink. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, I do appreciate that... And the other thing is, by the way, it is much, much easier to get into universities these days because there's so many of them.
Well, you say that.
There are so many of them.
Yeah, but the fact that there are so many of them has minimised the effect of getting a degree from some of them, because in the end, having a degree when you and I were around was a big thing.
Yes.
Whereas now, it's not such a big thing, and so now
everybody's
it has to
got one.
Yeah, well, now it's almost like you have to get a master's degree, which costs even more money to get in order to stand out from the crowd.
I mean, I tell you what, you're on the right track there. If you come out now with a 2-1, which in our generation was almost like a first, it was a very, very good degree.
Well, it was a good degree. It wasn't like a first.
No, it was a very good degree.
Yeah.
You come out with a 2-1 now, and you're just average. There are so many 2-1 degrees around,
And also it depends where it's from.
Yeah, of course it does.
It does. If you get it from, the University of North London, which used to be North London Poly.
That's right.
Down on the Holloway Road.
That's right.
It's not going to be as
or
well...
Hatfield or something like that.
It's not going to be as well received as one from University College London.
That's right.
Now,
yes, I do indeed. Now, we often talk, don't we, about the fatism situation in this country, because I've told you that I think people should be weighed before they go onto aeroplanes, and we've come up with various things about...
A lot of people have started talking about that now as well.
Yeah, they have.
It's become a thing.
They have. But what about this latest one, which caught my eye because, of course, it reminds me of my childhood when we used to go for day trips to Snowdonia.
Oh, yeah.
A holidaymaker was unable to board a steam train to the summit of Snowdon, which I know quite well, because there were too many obese people on board.
What you mean? So it couldn't get up the track?
No, there was actually no room inside the carriage because the people in the carriage were so fat.
Ooh.
Right, listen to this. Anthony Popple, aged 69, was told by staff that his reserved seat had been taken by an overweight family of 4 who were so big they took up 5 seats between them, and there was no room for him to go to his seat. Right? Mr. Popple said, "It ruined my holiday." Mr. Popple travelled from Suffolk to Snowdonia, and he booked ahead the £32.50 return ticket weeks in advance to go up and down the mountain.
Right.
Sounds expensive, doesn't it? £32.50.
Is this the Festiniog Railway Company?
Indeed.
Festiniog Welsh Highland Railways.
Indeed. Managers of the Snowdon Mountain Railway, which operates the narrow gauge steam train to the summit.
So it's probably quite a small, older train, is what you're saying?
It's one carriage. I've seen it. It's one very old carriage. It looks like something that these days had been turned into like a hotel bedroom or something, you know. And it's on a narrow gauge rail, and the train doesn't pull you up the mountain; it pushes you. It's a little green train with a huge sort of bell on the front and a funnel, and it literally pushes the carriage up.
Yes.
And then it turns round at the top and it brings you down. You know what I mean?
Down,
yeah. But anyway, it says managers of the Snowdon Mountain Railway operates the narrow gauge steam train to the summit. Wrote a letter of apology to Mr. Popple in which they confirmed that the size of the other passengers had prevented him from boarding. They told him, "Your ticket was valid for the departure at 12 noon, but unfortunately, the other occupants of the carriage were so large in stature that we were unable to fit you in, and they refused to move their family group to accommodate you more easily in your allotted carriage."
So did you just have to stand there and wait for the next one?
I don't think he got on at all.
No.
Our carriage accommodates 10 people, but the issue of obesity in our country is leading to more than one incident of this type every year.
Oh, dear.
So, I mean, you know, when people deny that the world's getting fatter and we're all getting bigger, there's plenty of evidence around to say we are.
I suppose so. Now, there's a couple of other things I want to draw to your attention. We haven't got a lot of time for this one, but apparently, did you know that they've spotted some Portuguese men of war off the coast of Cornwall and Scilly Islands?
They can be deadly.
They can be deadly. These are jellyfish that can kill.
Yes.
Right? And so beachgoers in the UK are being warned to be careful.
Yes.
Right? Because a couple of them have washed up on the beaches down there.
That is bad news, man. You step on one of those and you get like an almost electric shock.
Well, you won't step on it. It will get you in the sea, won't it?
Yeah, but if they washed up on the beach, you know what happens?
Well, if they wash up on the beach, normally speaking, they're dead, aren't
No, not for a while, and their tentacles are still live. Believe me, I know these things, right?
Now, have you ever stood on a jellyfish?
No, thank God I haven't. But if you do...
One of my kids stood on a jellyfish, funnily enough, when we were in Mallorca.
Any problems?
Yeah, he got a little sting.
That's what I'm saying.
But it was in the sea, though.
Oh, he's in the sea, I see, yeah. But you get
in
that...
fact, he called me over. It was quite shallow.
Yes.
And he was like, "Oh, I don't know what this is. Come over here and have a look." And he was walking on it because it felt weird.
Yeah, right.
You know, and he couldn't understand why it was giving...
Like walking on rubber.
Giving this kind of, sensation that he was giving.
That's
but
right.
eventually, you could tell that it had then stung him because he had those...
The rash.
Well, they have those little kind of almost like swipes almost of a tentacle.
Yeah.
You know, like a sort of
a
long kind of...
You can, if they wrap their tentacles around you, get that condition called, is it anaphylactic shock or something?
Anaphylactic shock.
Anaphylactic shock.
You can,
that's right. You can, yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Not a good
news,
thing.
Man.
And I've got some news for you about Whitley Bay, but I'll hold on to that for a moment.
Okay.
Because we're almost out of time. And the Porky Quiz is
Why,
coming up very,
man.
very shortly. This is TalkSport.
Aye.
It's a wonderful night, you gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night, you gotta shake it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. The Porky Quiz coming up very, very soon.
Yeah.
And I don't know yet what the questions are because I still haven't seen them. But do you know about the Whitley Bay Dome? Is that something that you remember?
Well, I think that was a central part of what used to be called Spanish City. Now, I have to admit, I'm not an expert on...
No, yes, you're absolutely right. It is sometimes known as the iconic Spanish City Dome.
Is it? Right, yeah, okay,
But
yeah.
apparently it's been empty for a few years.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
As if by magic, because we're going up there, they started renovating it. They started renovating it yesterday for the first time, so they're going to try and bring it back to life.
Okay, well, that's good.
Which is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Initial work will include the removal of the first floor ceiling to open up the rotunda area.
Yes.
And then previously removed features will be rebuilt and put back in. Because there was an awful lot of kind of what you would call architectural vandalism, wasn't there? In the years of the sort of 60s and 70s, where they would go, we don't really like the way that looks, so we'll just hack away at it and make it look different.
It's been happening for the last 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
One of the worst... one of the worst people who got involved in it was John Prescott.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't go around knocking down sort of architectural wonders and all that kind of stuff. But when he was Minister of the Environment, there was a clearing programme for old terraced houses.
Yeah.
And Liverpool in particular suffered badly. I mean, those rows of lovely terraced houses which lead up to the football grounds, and in that part of Liverpool, Walton and Anfield and round there, I mean, they are great, well-built houses. And the point is, you know, we went through the 60s clearing lots of terraced houses which weren't so good because they were shabby and all that.
But also
built high-rise flats.
It was the birth of those ghastly high-rise flats.
Absolutely.
You know, every city's got them. You know,
Absolutely.
You see them in Newcastle, you see them in Glasgow, you see them in Edinburgh, see them in London.
Nobody wanted them. We shouldn't have done them, but you shouldn't have knocked down. And so, fortunately, there was a rethink but a lot of houses had already been knocked down, and dilapidated roads did these schemes where you sell off a house for literally £100, and it's a wreck, and you do it up yourself and all that kind of stuff, and that's regenerated a lot of areas.
Yeah, no, exactly right.
I'm glad to say.
But it's good to see that they're trying to bring back the Edwardian splendour, basically, of Whitley Bay. I'm really looking forward to seeing the place, actually.
Yeah, well,
it's always nice to go somewhere you've never been.
I totally agree. We ain't got a lot of time there because we're getting up mid-afternoon. The show's 7:30. We've made a lot of people there. Might be able to have a quick look along the prom the next morning, but then we've got to get back because we have responsibilities back here.
Exactly right. Now, as if you would by magic have led to this next story I've got here.
Yes.
Do you know that the average now lunch hour has been reduced to 28 minutes?
Yeah, well, you see, I don't understand that. I don't understand why people go out on lunch hours and break up their day. I just don't get it. For me, it never works. If I was
hang on, when you and I were reporters,
yes,
your lunch would suddenly be actually the whole day. The longest lunch I ever had went from about midday till about midnight.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. But
so you don't have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with that at all. What I'm saying is, if you work in an office where you basically do the same job all day, I don't understand why you'd go out for an hour and then come back. Now,
well, because people like to get away. It's good for you to get away from the desk if you're stuck at a desk all day. And if you're doing a job, for example, which is physical, it's also good to break.
Yeah, but I completely lose my drift and my thought pattern.
Well,
if
you do that every 5 minutes.
I suddenly exit myself from my my work pattern for like just an hour. I just don't see a point of it. Now, you're absolutely right. In our world of journalism, if I was having a big lunch with somebody, it might be like an awards lunch or something like that. And we've both been to plenty of them,
We've never actually got any, though.
Oh, yeah, no, I did.
When?
I'm just trying to remember.
No, you've never got any awards. Any awards you've ever got have been internal company awards. Which
no,
doesn't count.
No.
Yeah, you have.
No. But anyway, we'll get to that later. The point is, so we go to these awards lunches, or you'd go to, I don't know, sort of Footballer of the Year award or something like that, you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. That was great. Now, I would always then say to my deputy, right, I'm going to meet a load of good people here. This is going to be a long one. I won't be back before 3 or 4 o'clock, so I'm not coming back. Okay?
Well, in fact, it's not worth coming back.
No, it's not worth coming back. You take it over.
Right.
If there's a major crisis,
yeah, but
get hold of me.
Once again, we're talking about a rather sort of privileged world in which we live,
right.
where you could do that kind of thing. Most people are sitting there, rather than bringing a sandwich in with them, they want to take a little walk around the block.
Yeah.
They want to go and see what's going on. I mean, we saw Robin Schoenhofer, didn't we, yesterday?
Yes.
And she was obviously having gone out for lunch, and we were trying to persuade her not to go back.
That's right.
But she said, no, I've got to go back. And she obviously just popped out for a sandwich.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I didn't realise that.
And that's what's a normal thing. So 28 minutes now is basically what most people do.
Yeah.
Now, what they say, these sort of doctors who advise on these things, say adults should do at least an hour's exercise every day to undo the harm caused by sitting at their desks for up to 8 hours.
Yeah, I can
So to get out of the office is a good idea,
yeah,
even if you're just walking around.
Probably, yeah, if you're walking around.
Apparently, if you had, this is what you say you do, right? A steady bike ride for 60 minutes or a brisk walk once a day will slash workers' risk of dying prematurely by 60%.
Yeah, it will, yeah. Well, we have some colleagues here who wouldn't dream of walking 10 yards, let alone for 10 minutes.
But we also have some colleagues who go out jogging. We also have some colleagues who go out cycling.
Yeah, I think that's over the top.
Do you?
Yeah, a bit, yeah. Going back to Fleet Street and the lunchtime there, the typical lunchtime, despite the laughs and the jokes we have about it, I was generally speaking a very hard-working news editor who very rarely went out for lunch. But when I did, I went out big.
But that's
I went out big. But my predecessor, for instance, his working day would be just about struggling to work for about 5 to 10 to pick up a sheet for the morning conference, which his deputy had done for him, you know what I mean? And when I say just about struggling, that's because he'd had a huge night the night before, and he was a great one for associating with women who weren't his wife and ending up in like a flat.
Who was this? Without giving his name away.
JJ.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And associating with a woman who lived in a flat on her own in somewhere like Dartford, where in fact he lived in Esher in Surrey,
right.
And the tale to his wife was always, late meetings, stayed in town and all that kind of stuff. And of course there were no mobile phones in these days, so you couldn't be tracked down,
and
you know what I mean?
And you'd have to struggle to get in then, presumably for 10 o'clock.
Yeah, because you didn't know Dartford very well.
An alien area.
Yeah, exactly, and you got up a bit late and you'd been on the razzle all night and you'd been indulging in quite a lot of horizontal refreshment.
Yeah,
so
not a lot of sleeping.
Yeah, not a lot of sleeping, that's right. And all of a sudden, what it's like, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock, and you've got to get there, and you get there for 5 to 10. So you then rush into morning conference, not knowing a blind thing about what was happening because he hadn't watched any news. He'd been battling.
Well, that
on
was
the
other
train.
thing. You couldn't then suddenly just look at your phone and check out what the Sky
No.
News was
No
doing.
way.
You had no news at all.
No way at all. You'd come in and you'd get your guy, your deputy, to give you a rundown because he was much more industrious about it than you were. Cause
if you were his deputy.
Yeah, if you were his deputy, because you hope one day you might take over the job. So you tried to impress people by doing it properly.
Yeah.
And then at sort of 10:30, when morning conference broke up, he'd come back to the desk and tell the deputy to get on with this, and this, because that's what they had to light. And then he'd disappear to the pub at about 20 to 11, which opened only for exalted Fleet Street executives, but didn't open to other people till 11:30. And that was the biggest laugh. He'd then be joined by one or two of his deputies.
Did you ever have that scene where you go to a bar, at perhaps a time you're not supposed to, but then you see somebody there who's also not supposed to be there?
Yes, that's right.
But who might be your boss?
Yeah.
And then, you both have to agree that basically you didn't see each other.
Well, fortunately, in those days, the Express was run by a guy who was a chronic alcoholic anyway.
Yes.
He spent most of his time in the Savoy bar, in the American bar at the Savoy, and sometimes didn't even know what day it was, you know. And so once the leader of your organisation is like that, it's sort of laissez-faire. But anyway, one or two of his deputies would go down, and their main job was to provide company for the news editors, drinking partners, for the early part of the day.
Right.
And it was on a rotation shift. So at 12 o'clock, news editor would come back and say to, battered down deputy, how are we getting on with these 2 stories, 3 stories? Oh, well, OK, we'll try a bit harder. I'm going out for lunch now. Right. And then he'd go out for lunch with another couple of drinking buddies, and they'd go up till about 3:15, 3:30. Then he'd come back, and evening conference was 4 o'clock. And he'd say to his battered down deputy, have you got all this sorted yet? Is this done? Is that done? Why isn't that done? Hasn't this been done? I don't know. You're not very good at this,
But then,
you?
of course, he would have other responsibilities, and he might have to go and, do budgets or do all sorts of other things.
Who? The news editor?
Yeah.
Very rarely.
Yeah, but, I mean, if he was good at his job, that's what he would be doing.
The great thing about budgets in those days was that nobody took a blind bit of notice of them because the paper was on the verge of bankruptcy anyway. Before new technology came in, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, but they weren't really on bankruptcy. They used to make a fortune because it was the biggest cash business around.
Well,
surely.
It was when it went on to computers, but in Fleet Street, there were weeks when literally the chief executive would come down and say, I'm not sure if the bank will extend the payroll this week and all that kind of stuff. Oh, it was a crisis situation.
Yeah,
if it hadn't been for Rupert Murdoch taking newspapers out of Fleet Street, the papers would have all collapsed.
Yeah, possibly.
But anyway, that's another story.
Now, I've got a great message here on Facebook from Debbie, who says, do you both like pineapple cake?
Oh.
Do you like pineapple cake? Sounds like something you would like.
Well, I tell you what, as a kid, I remember distinctly that the treat we used to have on a Saturday was we used to have lovely French sticks for lunch.
French sticks? Like French bread?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And you cut them up and you can put jam on
you
them.
have butter on them?
Yeah,
Lard,
butter,
maybe?
jam, marmalade. No, butter, jam, marmalade, all that kind of stuff. Honey and all that kind of stuff.
Well, bread and jam was your treat.
It was actually, yeah, because you used a big lunch, a big tea on Saturday night,
Yeah.
But also, my mum used to go and buy like a cake.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was strawberry, with the cream in the middle.
Yeah.
But I remember she often used to get the pineapple cake, which I loved. I used to eat most of it.
Well, Debbie says that she's coming to Whitley Bay, and she may bring some home baking if you so desire. So,
well,
Debbie,
very nice,
if you'd like to, that's very kind of you, and go ahead and do it. And then we'll eat some during the refreshment break.
Well, the only thing I would say is, Debbie, it's very, very kind of you, and thank you very much indeed, but it'll be a bit of a bum fight. These things always are, and I don't want your cake to get squashed or stolen or appropriated by other people. So, but it's a lovely gesture. Thank you very much indeed. If you can do it in an orderly fashion, then, of course, that would be very welcome.
We could eat it on the way back to London.
Yeah, eat it on the way back to London. That's a very good idea. Sounds great.
OK. Now, you ready for the Porky Quiz?
Porky Quiz, I'm absolutely fully boned up on. No problem at all.
OK, because that's coming next.
Yep.
Oh, me lads, you should have seen me ganning. Weapons on the open road, jumping and standing. All the lads and lasses there and all the smiling faces, galling down the Scotswood Road. See the blatant races.
What I have to put up with. That may have been
Was that me?
I think it was you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very good, isn't it?
Sounds like I might have just come back from the wine bar. But I don't think I had.
Well, I don't think you had either.
It sounded a bit wild.
Yeah, well, a bit wild is what you do.
Yes.
Now, of course, we are going up to Whitley Bay to be at the Playhouse tomorrow night,
Indeed.
7:30. If you want to get a
Yep.
ticket, go ahead and
Yep.
get one. Go to the twomics.co.uk
Yes.
or, indeed, from the box office up there. This is a quiz about the northeast of England.
Yes, okay.
Now, yesterday you were worried about the parameters of that.
Yes.
I've seen the questions. I think they're all very fair.
Okay.
And
Well, you would, because you're asking them, yeah.
Well, I'm just given the sheet of questions, and that's what
You
I'm
have to
about
try
read
and,
out.
constantly prove that, you're the winner in this quiz, but of course
Well,
you
it's
never
not-
are,
It's
because
not a question of winning and losing it.
because
it's a question of
you're,
how well
it's not
you
your
do.
it's not your intelligence and knowledge which is being tested. It's mine.
Right, and we are testing your intelligence and knowledge.
Yes.
Now, as ever, if you get one correct,
Yes.
you will hear this sound.
Here's Gascoigne. Brilliant play!
And if you
Brilliant.
get one incorrect, you will hear this sound.
You just weren't good enough, babe.
Yeah,
Right,
okay.
now,
Yeah.
the first question involves a little bit of music.
Right.
So have a listen to this.
Right.
Great song, that, isn't
Right.
it?
Yeah, great song.
Do you know it?
Hey?
Do you know what the song is?
No.
Okay. Well, luckily, that's not the question.
Exactly.
The song is The Tunnel of Love.
Tunnel of Love.
Right, which was actually written about the fun fair at Whitley Bay.
Right.
And there are also a couple of lines in it about the Spanish city and
That's
all that
right,
kind of
yeah.
thing, which you might remember. Now,
Yes,
Mark
yes.
Knopfler, of
Yes.
course, from Dire Straits,
Yes.
wrote the song. He is a well-known ambassador for the North East.
Yes.
Do you know exactly where he was born?
Mark Knopfler.
Yes.
Mark Knopfler,
Yeah.
who wears a bandana around his head,
Sometimes.
okay, and who was the leader of Dire Straits when they made Brothers in Arms.
Well, he's always been the leader of Dire Straits.
Yeah, which was a world record-beating
Record,
yeah, and included "Money Is for Nothing and Your Chicks for Free," which is a record called
Money is for nothing.
Yeah, money is for nothing.
money
and
for
your chicks
nothing. No
and your
is.
chicks
No, there's
for
no
free.
is.
And,
Money
and,
for nothing.
and introduced the word MTV in the lyrics to that song. Do you remember? When
Yep.
you and I knew what MTV was, but
Yes.
nobody in this country did. You know, you go.
I'll have to hurry you, I'm afraid.
On your right.
Do you know where he was born?
He was born and brought up in.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Because
I can't give you any clues.
I'm shifting my brain. I believe it to have been Gateshead.
Incorrect.
No.
You just weren't good enough, babe.
He was born in Glasgow.
Well, why are you asking me about a question about the North East by a man who's born in Scotland?
Well, because
That's
he's a very known
ridiculous.
figure from the North East.
He's not.
Yes, he's not a well-known figure from the North
Well, he
East.
can't be if he's Scottish, can he?
He's not Scottish.
What a ridiculous question.
He's not Scottish.
Ridiculous.
Knopfler
I hope
is
the
not...
listeners are listening to the gerrymandering that's going on here
Right.
and making a note, please.
Now, just north of Whitley Bay, question number 2
Yes.
is the St Mary's Lighthouse. When was it built?
St Mary's.
Yeah.
St Mary's Lighthouse was actually the second construction on St Mary's Isle to warn ships coming in from the North Sea into St Mary's Bay. And it's people often confuse it with Lindisfarne, where there's two lighthouses. And I know that when they were built, they were built in 1860. And I think St Mary's Lighthouse on St Mary's Isle. Yes, it's near Seaton Sluice. Actually, is the nearest town.
Really?
And,
well, I don't care about any of that.
Yeah,
I just want to know when it was built.
It was built in 1868.
Incorrect.
No,
You just weren't good enough, babe.
It was built in 1898.
Well, that's very close.
Well, it's not close enough.
That's
No, but
very,
normally-
very close. Very
but
close.
it's-
Say, you've got the
well,
right half of the right century.
Well, that doesn't matter.
Ugh.
Question number 3.
Right, that's an unfair question.
I don't make the questions, okay? Question number 3. Who owns Bamborough Castle?
Bamborough Castle
Yes.
is owned by the Percy family. Now, thinking aloud here,
Thinking aloud.
I believe it's the Percy family, and the Percy is the name of the dynastic family who own terrific amounts of land in the northeast of England, including Percy Park Rugby Club, which is in North Shields on the border with Tynemouth.
Is that the name of the rugby club?
The rugby club is called Percy Park Rugby
Percy
Club.
Park.
Yeah, yeah. And so now, although the family name is Percy, they are the Duke of something as well, but that's irrelevant. And it's not the Duke of Northumberland. It's not that. It's the Percy family, and I think the royal sort of title that they carry is probably the Duke. Well, I'm going to say the Percy. I'm going to even answer the name of the family, okay? And it's the Percy family.
Yeah, it's a good guess, actually.
Thank you.
However, it's incorrect.
It's not a guess. It's not a
It's
guess.
incorrect.
No.
Because I think you're confusing Alnwick Castle with Bamborough Castle.
No.
Yes, you are. Because the Percy family are from Normandy region.
Yes.
Originally.
That's right.
Whereas, in fact, Bamborough Castle is owned by the descendants of the Victorian industrialist William Armstrong, who bought it in the 19th century and has operated it ever since.
Well,
So-
that's just his name.
So, his name is William Armstrong. He was a Victorian industrialist. It's the Armstrong
Nobody's
family.
ever heard of him.
Well, he was a very famous man in
He's
the
not,
North East.
he's not the Duke of Bedfordshire or anything like
He's
that.
a very famous man in the North East.
Well, he's not very famous to me.
Well, I'm sorry about
And
that.
anyway, how do you know about the Percy family if you're supposed to be, the independent
Because I've just looked it up.
quizmaster?
I've just looked it up.
You've just looked it up.
I've just looked it up. That's what I did here because I didn't know whether there was a connection between the Percys and the Armstrongs.
Loaded
Turns out
dribble.
there isn't.
Loaded
Question
dribble.
number 4. When did the Great North Run begin?
When? Now, Brendan Foster.
And I could give you a clue here.
Yes.
The start of the race is not the answer.
Yeah, it's funny, do you?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, you think it's funny too.
Because that could have been. If it was a trick question, that could have been the answer. I'm happy to say it's not a trick question.
You idiot. Now, Brendan Foster invented this race.
Did he?
Yes, he
He
did.
didn't really invent it,
He
did he?
did. He invented it. He
established it.
Yeah, that's he
You
invented
can't
the
invent
occasion.
a race. If you invent a race, that means you're inventing something that's never been done before.
Now, it was called the 10K Great North Run originally. Now, it's now the biggest half marathon in the world. I can tell you that.
Thank you.
I have also done it, of course. I
You've
have my
walked
medal
it, haven't you?
I have my medal to prove that.
Yeah.
And
You must bring that medal. Why don't you bring the medal to Whitley Bay?
I could do, actually,
Yeah.
I suppose. Could wear it, couldn't I, on
You
stage?
could, yeah.
that'd be a medal of honour. Yeah, badge of honour. Yeah, you're right. So, let me just think here now. So, 2007, thinking aloud, 77, 87, 97. Yes, it was... Now, you've got to give me a year either way, obviously.
Okay, I'll give you a year either way.
So you want to know the first year it happened?
Yes.
The first year it happened was in 1978.
Incorrect.
No.
It just weren't good enough, babe.
Unfortunately, that's 2 years out.
When was it?
1981.
Oh, my...
I gave you a year either way.
See?
Well,
you
so
asked
close. Yeah, but you asked for a year either way.
Yeah.
All right, question number 5. I think you get this one. How many times have Newcastle United won the FA Cup?
Newcastle United FA Cup. Well, they won it in... Now, Jackie Milburn was obviously their heroic player in those days. War Jackie. They won it in 51, 52 and 55, so that's 3 times they've won it. And I don't think they've ever won it since, to be honest, or before. So my answer, thinking aloud, is they got beaten twice in the 90s. I think by Chelsea and Arsenal.
How many times have they been beaten?
Right, okay. When Alan Shearer played for them. So I'm going to say... Oh, did they win it before 51? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say 3 times.
Incorrect.
No!
It just weren't good enough, babe.
They've won it 6 times.
6 times?
Yeah.
What were the other years?
1910, 1924 and 1932.
But you see, that's all pre-war.
So?
Well, they've
Still
won
the
it 3
FA
times
Cup.
since the Second World War.
Well, that wasn't the question. The question was how many times they won the FA Cup.
Well, you can't expect me to know about the Newcastle
Why
United
not?
Football Club pre-war. I know about my own.
You're supposed to do your research before you get quizzed about the North East of England.
Well, I do plenty of research.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so far you got none out of 5.
Well, you've got to ask proper questions, haven't you?
These are the questions I've got. Question number 6.
Yes.
Surely you'll get this one. How long is the River Tyne?
How long is the River Tyne?
Yeah.
Which bit of it?
Well, all of it.
Yeah, but it's no, it's got.
How can I ask you about a bit of it? the bit between, the estuary and the city.
Yeah, but it has got tributaries. So
Well, the River Tyne-
you might want the whole length, including the tributaries.
The River Tyne is generally accepted to be become the River Tyne, where it's become a merged version of the North Tyne and the South Tyne.
Yeah.
Right. So from that point,
and it goes down the Tyne Valley,
where it then goes into the sea.
Well, no, going back from the Tyne, it goes up the Tyne Valley, so to speak. And in fact, one of my mates...
it goes upwards,
yes,
the river.
Yes.
Sure it doesn't go down?
My mate used to be the reporter on the Even Chronicle for the Tyne Valley.
All right.
For towns like Jarrow, believe it. Sorry, not Jarrow. Blaydon. The Blaydon Races is up the valley.
Maybe if we had a phone a friend feature, you could ring him.
Yeah, okay. So you want to know how long it is?
How many miles? Yes.
Yeah, miles.
Yeah.
Yes. From its source, obviously.
Yes.
Yes. I believe the answer is
Go on.
67 miles.
Incorrect.
No.
You just weren't good enough, babe.
It's 73 miles.
Oh, I was so close.
It's not a bad guess.
So
but
close.
Unfortunately, wrong.
I didn't guess. I was working out in my head.
Question number 7.
Yes.
Who wrote the novels on which the TV series Vera was based on? And
Vera.
of course, I'll mention again on Two Mics TV on YouTube. There is a Vera clip.
Yeah, Vera. Yes. Well, I don't think it was. Hang on. It could have been.
I'm going to have to hurry you. I'm being told by the producers.
Yeah. Okay. There was a great sort of northeastern authoress who died last year.
Uh-huh.
So it could have been her.
Right.
Catherine.
What was her name?
No, I'm thinking aloud. Catherine Cookson was her name. Catherine Cookson.
Mm.
So it could have been her.
I can't give you any clues.
I don't know the name of any of the northeast authors or authoresses. So I'm going to say Catherine Cookson.
Incorrect.
No.
It is, in fact, Anne Cleves.
You just weren't good enough, babe.
And Cleves.
All right. Question number 8.
Yes.
You got none out of 7 so far.
Yeah, we haven't asked any proper questions
What
yet.
was the population of Teesside at the last census?
Teesside's not in the northeast.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not. It's North Yorkshire.
No, it is in the northeast.
No, it doesn't classify as northeast.
Teesside is considered to be part of the northeast.
I will answer your question for the sake of this quiz. What was your question
again? And you
again?
can have 10% on either side.
What's your question?
What was the population of Teesside at the last census?
Right, Teesside, not Middlesbrough.
Not Middlesbrough.
Teesside.
Yeah.
The population of Teesside at the last census was 285,000 people.
Does that include a 10% either way? Yes or no? No, it's incorrect.
You just weren't good enough, babe.
376,333. Question number 9.
Yes.
It's another musical question. Have a listen to this.
'Cause the fog on the town is all mine, all mine. The fog on the town is all mine. The fog on the town is all mine, all mine. The fog on the town is all mine.
Now, you recognise that song?
I do.
Do you recognise the name of the band?
Lindisfarne.
Excellent. Great. The question is, who were the 2 founding members of Lindisfarne?
2 founding members?
Yeah.
Right, one of them's called Alan. Thinking aloud now, thinking aloud. Now, the other guy played the mandolin and was actually the mandolin player who played the last riff in Rod Stewart's Maggie May.
Oh, yeah.
Although the DJ John Peel sat in on the recording, the video recording, he didn't actually play it. It was the lad from Lindisfarne. So Alan was the lead singer, and the other guy was the mandolin player.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, certainly the first name does include Alan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'll need a bit more than that, really.
Alan. Right, thinking aloud. I think it's something like Alan Parsons or something like that. Parsons, because Parsons was the name of a very big engineering company up in the northeast, very popular northeast name. And the other guy was called. Let me think.
You haven't got much time here because we're already running way over.
Wake up, Maggie. I think I got to. I'll have to say.
Give us 2 names.
Alan Parsons and Barry Hill.
Incorrect.
You just weren't good enough, babe.
It's Alan Hull and Ray Jackson.
Well, see, I was close.
I can't even give you half of that because you get one of the names right. Right, finally, question number 10.
Yeah.
Who designed the Angel of the North?
Angel of the North.
I'm looking for the name of the artist.
Yes, I know who this is.
Do you?
This guy is thinking aloud. I think, believe it or not, his name's Anthony Gormless. Hang on. I'm just thinking aloud. Wait a minute. No, it can't be Gormless. Something. Anthony Gormley.
Correct.
Hey! Whoa!
Although I quite liked gormless as a word to sort of sum up the quiz. You've got 1 out of 10. Absolutely shocking.
A ridiculous question.
It was not. It was
Why didn't you ask me what year the Tyne Bridge was built?
What year was the Tyne Bridge built?
In 1898.
Are you sure?
No, it was. Sorry, it was 1958. Actually,
Was it?
Yeah, it was as late as that. No, it wasn't. It was. But anyway, or why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you ask me, for instance? When was the first monastery founded on Lindisfarne?
When was that founded?
643.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain.
Right.
I'm absolutely certain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Why didn't you ask me how many goals Jackie Milburn scored for Newcastle United?
How many?
177. Yeah, in 354 appearances.
Well, very good.
Didn't ask me any of those, did you?
Unfortunately, none of those were supplied by the independent quizmasters. 1 out of 10, one of the worst performances of all time. If you're coming to Whitley Bay, I think you'll have to show your absolute utter disdain for Mr. Parry's expertise. This is TalkSport.
You just weren't good enough, babe.
TalkSport, we are the Two Mics. We're going to be in Whitley Bay Playhouse tomorrow night from 7:30. As Porky said earlier, if you're watching the game between Newcastle and Aston Villa at 5:30, go to a pub in Whitley Bay and then come to the show afterwards.
Indeed.
A couple of people have
Perfect
made remarks,
Saturday night out.
made remarks about your performance in the quiz.
Yeah.
David says this: the Porky Quiz, tougher than Mastermind University Challenge, 15-1, and the Krypton Factor. All put together.
Yeah. I've got some very complimentary ones. Actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
Lee says this: Porky, them questions were a absolute joke, totally gerrymandered from start to finish.
Exactly.
Trouble is, from Lee, none of it's spelt correctly. So I'm not quite sure he's the best
Well, he's
judge.
excited to get onto Twitter to make his point very quickly.
I'm not sure he's the best judge. Steve says, how long is the gap between Porky's ears? You could seat an extra large family in there.
Yes. Well, and there's one here. It says, my prediction 3.5 turned out to be generous. Pathetic Porky again. Can't even get his own question right.
Well, that did sort of flummox you a bit, didn't it? When you said, why didn't you ask me about this? And then you got it wrong.
Yeah.
The Tyne Bridge, I think it was 1928 it was opened, actually.
1928, I said that.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Well, you said about 8 different dates.
Okay. But, I mean, that comes from Alan. Alan, that's a very uncharitable view of things. You've been brainwashed by the gerrymandering MG. Here we go. This is from Becky, one of our favourite correspondents.
Yes.
So close, Porky. You nearly got a few right. Some obscure questions, though. Get off the train at Leeds.
Yes, and one person who we can't read out the full tweet because it involves some foul language, I'm afraid, from FC. He said, Middlesbrough, Hartlepool and Darlington not in the North East.
Thank you.
No, he's saying question mark.
Yeah.
As if they're not, because that's a ridiculous thing. How can you say Middlesbrough's not in the North East?
It's North Yorkshire. People who come from there say, no, we're not part of the North East, we're part of North Yorkshire.
No, Middlesbrough, Hartlepool and Darlington are in the North East. You should know that.
Well, there's one here from Lee, says, I've never laughed so hard as at this week's Porky Quiz. What was funny about it? Nothing funny about it, mate. Nothing funny about being stitched up.
Lord Rallo, imagine Porky in school failing a test and telling his professor they asked the wrong questions.
Yeah, well.
Now, David quite rightly picks up on something you did earlier, which I meant to mention to you, but I forgot. Because you put out that you were on your way into TalkSport Towers, right?
Yes.
And the big feature of the night was the Ask Porky quiz on the northeast of England.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not the Ask Porky
no,
quiz,
that's
is it?
right. Yeah, well, it's a Porky quiz.
And he says, what is the Ask Porky quiz?
Yeah, well...
what is Mike Parry talking about? Is it a new feature?
No, it's not. No, it's the Porky quiz. But, I get so involved in researching my information, I sometimes, get the detail a little bit askew.
And here's a good one from Depp. He says, is Porky Mike Ashley in disguise? Clueless about the culture of the North East.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it?
Now, because you're an expert, right? And
yes.
I have to ask you this. I mean, is there... should we be heading for anything in particular breakfast-wise or, in terms of the food? Because I'm a bit of a foodie, right?
Yeah.
So what food am I going to be eating? What food are you going to be putting in front of me when we get to the North East?
You could have a peas pudding sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what that is?
No, tell me.
Well, peas pudding actually is not very far removed from mushy peas,
right?
And it's like a paste, made of peas, but you put it on your bread like you would spread honey.
It was a bit like sort of so it's that consistency.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it savoury though? Right, it's not sweet.
No, it's quite sweet. It tastes like peas. It's made of it's a pea extract.
Peas are not sweet though, is it?
Well, you know what I mean. You put a bit of salt on it or something like that.
Well, no, I don't know what you mean. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, that's very nice anyway. And the other one is stotty cake.
But what do you have with? I mean, what would you have peas pudding with?
You put it on a sandwich.
That's all.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't want to just eat a peas pudding sandwich.
Well, it's a novelty up there. I'm sure you quite like it. Stotty cake. We can have some stotty cake.
Is that like potato scone?
Yes, that's right. Yes, it is. It is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no problem
what else
at all.
Then? Well, you must be. I mean, you lived there for about 2 years, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Is that the best you could do?
What's
Whitley Bay famous for? Is it famous for its fish?
Prawns.
Prawns from the North Sea. Hey?
Yes.
You don't know, do you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, from the bay.
I mean, it might be fish and chips. If it's fish and chips, I'd be more than happy to have a local fish and chips.
Fish and chips is fine. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
No problem at all.
A couple of bottles of Newquay.
Well, I'm not a great fan of Newcastle Brown. Funny enough, what we used to drink up there, and I've never drunk it anywhere else in my life, was brown and bitter. So, because
I'll be having my usual bottle of champagne.
You have a bottle of champagne, you'd be a bit of a snob in the northeast. So you'd go into, like, the Salutation Inn in Tynemouth, and you'd have half a pint of Exhibition, which is a bitter.
Right.
I don't even know if that's still going, actually. I'm not sure. We'll have to check that out. And then they pour a half bottle of brown into... No, actually, they don't have half bottles of brown. They don't have bottles of brown, pint bottles of brown.
They'd pour half of it in, that's what you mean.
No, because they'd get a bottle of brown. You see, the strange thing is... We used to have a drink called Mild when I was a callow youth.
Yeah.
There was bitter, mild, and
I remember that,
and lager and Brune and all that kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
And so I'm not sure, but brown and bitter was definitely Exhibition, half a pint of Exhibition, and half a pint of brown ale,
right.
which I think came on draft. I think it came out of a tap.
Yeah.
And you put the two together and that was the kind of drink of young people's taste.
Okay,
you see what I mean?
All right. Well, we'll maybe ask the locals when we get up there and see what's what.
There was a brewery based in Sunderland called Vaux, Vaux.
Right.
And if you went into one of their pubs, you could choose the Vaux Bronze, the Vaux Silver, or the Vaux Gold.
Okay.
And they were three beers, which were basically... third class, second class, and first class.
The first class was the strongest, presumably.
Yeah, and a better taste. And
okay.
I always drank that, obviously.
All right. Well, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
You'll have your usual bottle of Pinot Grigio, I assume, on the stage.
Maybe.
All right. Yeah. Well, we shall see. But this show is very rapidly coming to an end. We will be in Whitley Bay, of course, tomorrow night, 7:30. We'll see you there. This is TalkSport.